magiliw, kailan sa sinanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
We wish to enter into silence and fill the silence with prayer. O one God of all nations, you created the earth and the cosmos, in their differences, beauty and frailty. The diversity of cultures and religions seek you, the origin of all things. You want all to be for each other, not a threat, but a blessing. Our one world should be, by your will, a peaceful and habitable home. You created us all in your own image and likeness. We are your image. In all those that seek you in truth, you have inspired hunger and thirst for justice and a desire for peace. Awaken in all the religions and in the peoples of today that they should be instruments and messengers of a better, more loving world. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in a bit. Just some logistical reminders for those joining us in Zoom. Please change your Zoom name to the format indicated on the slide. Institution underscore name. Please make sure to mute your microphone if it's not in use. And finally, feel free to use the chat box for your questions and comments. We will make sure that these questions and comments reach our speakers, and if time allows, some of these can be brought up later in the open discussion portion of our webinar today. Hello to all, whether you're joining us from Zoom or from YouTube. I am Justin Badion of the Ateneo de Manila University Theology Department, and I will be this webinar's moderator. Welcome all. This year, the Ateneo de Manila University, Ateneo de Davao University, and Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, SDG2 Zero Hunger Project of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines, and in collaboration with the Asian NGO Coalition for Agrarian Reform and Rural Development, had organized the Policy and Governance of Sustainable Food Systems webinar series, comprised of 5 webinars And some of you might have already been part of those webinars in the past few months. The first, securing food availability, sustainability, and access, focused on fostering a discourse between the academe and policymakers on the issue of food security amidst rising prices of commodities. The second, food security, social safety nets, and social protection, explored how complementary interventions of short-term social safety nets and long-term social protection programs contribute to the alleviation of hunger and the achievement of food security. Next slide, please. The third, perspectives on sustainable water for food security, health, and nutrition, aim to open conversations and raise awareness on the crucial importance of water for food systems, sustainable agriculture, and aquaculture development, sanitation, and hygiene. The most recent one, Land and Food Systems, aimed to raise the discourse on land tenure and management and its crucial role in long-term food security through the lens of civil society organizations working on this issue in the Global South. Today, we come to the fifth and final webinar for this year's webinar series. Although this webinar is the last for both this series and this year, do not fret because a new webinar series will be organized and planned shortly for next year. More information on this will be made available through various channels, especially in our Food Systems Community Dialogue Facebook page, which will be flashed at the end of the webinar. Next slide, please. As we continue reflecting as a community on matters concerning issues in the food system, this webinar will aim to focus primarily on the matter on food loss and food waste. I hope that as we listen to those speakers today, we take into account this big question presented on the slide. How can we contribute to reducing food waste in our own context? Later, during the open discussion session of our webinar today, we'd like to entertain some answers to this question from the audience. And I hope that as we listen in on the various speakers for today, this is something that we are trying to dialogue with in terms of as we listen to our speakers. Next slide, please. To begin, I'd like to ask Dr. Randy Tuanyo, Dean of the Ateneo School of Government, to give the opening remarks.
Thank you, Justin, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Ateneo Working Group on SDG2 Zero Hunger, composed of the Ateneo de Manila University, Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, the Ateneo de Davao University, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines, and the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability of the Ateneo de Manila, I would like to welcome you all to this year's fifth and final installment of our thought-provoking webinar series entitled Policy and Governance of Sustainable Food Systems. Today, we delve into a critical issue that stands at the intersection of food security, environmental sustainability, and responsible consumption, which is the issue of food loss and food waste. In a world where an alarming one-third of the food produced, approximately 1.3 billion tons annually, goes to waste, our webinar couldn't be timelier. The staggering reality is that 17% of global food production is lost among households, food service, and retail sectors combined. Such inefficiencies contribute to 38% of the total energy used in the global food system, a stark irony when millions still grapple with hunger. Food waste is a pervasive global issue with far-reaching consequences. One major cause is inefficiencies in the supply chain, where inadequate infrastructure or transportation and storage facilities contribute to significant losses from harvest to retail. Consumers also play a crucial role, often overbuying and overconsuming, leading to excess food that goes uneaten. Additionally, the perception of imperfection in fruits and vegetables contributes to their rejection by consumers, despite being perfectly edible. Retail practices, including strict adherence to expiration dates and overstocking, contribute also to this problem. In the food service industry, large portion sizes and challenges in managing supply chains result in substantial leftovers that often end up discarded. Developing countries face additional challenges due to the lack of infrastructure, particularly in storage and preservation facilities, leading to significant food losses. The Philippines, unfortunately, mirrors this global concern. The Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the Department of Science and Technology reports that Filipinos waste a staggering 1.722 billion kilograms of food daily, with the International Rice Research Institute highlighting that 23 million pesos worth of rice is discarded daily. We must confront the urgency of addressing this issue on both local and global scales. Government policies in agriculture, food, and land management contribute to food waste challenges in the country. Insufficient infrastructure, particularly in terms of storage and transportation, can result in substantial post-harvest facility losses. Inadequate support for farmers in terms of technology and resources may lead to inefficiencies in production, contributing to avoidable food waste. Moreover, policies related to expiration dates and quality standards contribute to food waste in retail settings, and strict adherence to these standards can lead to the discarding of food items that are still safe for consumption, but may not meet arbitrary cosmetic or freshness criteria. Additionally, there may be gaps in legislation and enforcement regarding the proper disposal of unsold but still edible food by restaurants and groceries. In addressing the pervasive issues of food waste, there's a need for a comprehensive and coordinated approach involving government agencies, the private sector, and local communities. This includes the development of policies that encourages sustainable agricultural practices, improve post-harvest infrastructure, and promote responsible consumer behavior. Initiatives to educate the public on the value of reducing food waste and implementing effective waste management strategies are also crucial for creating a more sustainable and resilient food system in the Philippines. This webinar, as Justin had said earlier, is the Ateneo Working Group's webinar series on policy and governance of sustainable food systems in the future, whose goal is to raise awareness on sustainable food systems as a multisectoral and interdisciplinary issue. Our distinguished speakers today, including Ms. Kylie Hartigan-Go from the University of Toronto, Mr. Francis Ian Agatep from the Quezon City Sustainable Development Affairs Unit, and Mr. Mac Florendo from Food Rescue Philippines, bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. They will be joined by Mr. Georgie Tenolete, Ms. Mitzi Salcedo of Eco Ateneo at Ateneo de Davao University, and Mr. Mark Sabines of the Xavier University. Throughout this webinar, we aim to highlight the awareness regarding the interconnectedness of food waste and loss, food security, climate change, and environmental degradation. The overarching objective is to advocate for behavioral changes starting at the individual and household levels. We believe that every action, no matter how small, contributes to a more sustainable and responsible food system. As we engage in this enlightening discourse, we encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, and share your own insights. Together, we can pave the way for a more conscientious and sustainable approach to food consumption and food waste. Thank you for joining us on this crucial journey towards a world where food is cherished and not wasted. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andy. Now we will begin the webinar with our first talk. Our first speaker is Ms. Kaylee Hartigan-Go from the University of Toronto. Kaylee Hartigan-Go is an undergraduate student at the University of Toronto studying environmental geography, geographical information systems, and digital humanities. Her research interests include sustainable food and agricultural systems, accessible public transportation, as well as urban policy and design. Using geospatial analysis and data science tools, she's interested in making cities more equitable places to live. We'll be listening to Kaylee's talk. However, due to time differences between Manila and Toronto, Kaylee will be instead sharing a recorded version of her talk for today. I'm eager to see what she has to say regarding our topic. Her talk is entitled Food Waste in Supermarkets, Transforming Corporate Food Retail Systems. So now let's listen to her presentation.
Good afternoon. I want to start my talk by asking a simple question. When you walk into a supermarket, what do you generally notice? Since going off to university and living on my own, I have been buying my own food and ingredients, so I'll tell you what I tend to see when shopping at the grocery store. I see long aisles of packaged and boxed foods. I see rows and rows of canned goods and sauce bottles of all varieties. I see refrigerators stocked with seafood, meat, and dairy products. I see sections with prepackaged frozen meals and sections with already cooked meals. I see mounds of fresh fruits and vegetables piled high, arranged in a bright display of colors. I always seem to see shelves that are stocked or in the process of being stocked. These stores made to contain a large quantity of products. I remember during the start of the COVID-19 lockdown in early 2020, I saw images and news articles of empty shelves and cleaned out aisles in groceries. Back when suppliers and distributors couldn't transport goods due to restrictions, and back when people were panic buying items that were still available. I remember being shocked by this at the time, as supermarkets and grocery stores always gave the impression of abundance and choice. And now where I am, things largely seem to be that way again in many urban areas. Back to being fully stocked, a space filled with plenty. Next slide, please. But keeping in mind all of this abundance, housed within supermarkets and grocery stores, I want to bring up three paradoxical yet coexisting ideas. First, the United Nations estimates that more than 2 billion people worldwide are experiencing some level of food insecurity, and almost 1 billion from that number are experiencing food insecurity to a severe degree. Second, amount-wise, the food we produce globally each year should be enough to feed 10 billion people. Third, the Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that about 30 to 40% of the food we produce every year goes to waste, lost to the different stages of the food supply chain. So, what is happening to all this food? Today, I point to corporate food retailers under the private sector, specifically supermarkets, as both enablers of the food waste issue and as indicators of the structural problems within our profit-driven food system. Within this talk, I focus on corporate-owned supermarket chains because they have access to vast amounts of capital, such as money, resources, and machinery, and thus they have the influence to shape all stages of the food supply chain. These retailers in particular are powerful intermediaries between the production and consumption stages, influencing how much food gets produced and what food consumers purchase. Next slide, please. So, how do corporate-owned supermarkets do this? They encourage both overproduction and overconsumption. Supermarkets operate on a business model that requires their shelves to be consistently fully stocked with a wide variety of products so that their customers continue to shop with them and don't switch over to competitors. With supermarkets typically importing large volumes of the products they sell, supply chains become longer as the world becomes more globalized. As supermarkets facilitate the lengthening of supply chains, the risk of waste increases at every step of this process. So, overproduction is necessary to meet corporate and consumer demand and to preempt supply chain risks and losses. With regard to overconsumption, supermarkets often use aggressive marketing strategies like eye catching and repetitive ads, bulk buy deals, frequent sales and promotions, and upsizing bargains to get people to buy more of their products, more than they need, as they feel they are getting good and cheap deals. Corporate owned supermarkets can afford to keep their prices relatively low compared to local and smaller scale retailers because they can sell and store so many more items and have access to vast capital and wealth. Corporate retailers in general are interested in selling as much as they can to make profit and maintain that influence, regardless of the associated waste that is generated through the overproduction, overstocking, and overconsumption that comes with their operations. Linking overproduction and overconsumption together, supermarkets have influenced and subsequently been influenced by people's aesthetic standards and expectations for produce and food items. Corporate practices have shaped the behavior of stakeholders along the supply chain. Supermarkets discard items they deem less than perfect, making their shelves as attractive as possible. Some food producers and farmers may not even send off or even harvest produce that don't meet these cosmetic standards. And as more people shop and become accustomed to supermarket and grocery store spaces, they come to expect perfect looking produce and items and constantly stocked shelves. Aesthetics have become an artificial marker of quality. Supermarkets have created a vicious cycle wherein these trained behaviors reinforce supermarkets' practice of discarding perfectly edible, but perhaps not perfectly looking, food, and encouraging overproduction to make up for the quantities that they choose to discard. Next slide, please. The reason I highlighted the role of supermarkets today is not to say that changing individual and household behavior to minimize food waste at the consumption level is unimportant. Research shows that those with more purchasing power, such as middle and high income individuals, tend to buy more than they need because they themselves have the money and the means to do so. For example, they typically have access to cars or private vehicles, allowing them to do large grocery runs. They generally have more access to refrigerators and pantry space that lets them store food items for longer periods of time, encouraging them to buy a larger quantity of goods. They also have the funds to do unplanned shopping, not needing to stick to a fixed budget or shopping list. All these things lead to their producing more waste than low-income individuals, who tend to be more frugal in buying and consuming food. So I acknowledge that at the consumption stage of the food supply chain, there are also differences in waste according to the socioeconomic status of individuals and households. Rather, I highlighted supermarkets today because I want to emphasize that people's behaviors, their expectations, consumption patterns, and the waste they generate as a result have been shaped, trained, and manufactured over time by corporate food retail systems. There are broad structural issues at play, which means that changing consumer behavior alone will not solve the excessive food waste we produce worldwide. Even if every single person stopped wasting food individually, if people bought just enough for themselves and their households to consume, supermarkets will still possess oversupply that goes to waste. There is food that is wasted and tossed before it can even reach consumers in stores. Waste is fundamentally built into supply chains. There is emerging research and literature that considers food waste as an issue stemming from structural overproduction. Under ever-intensifying industrial agriculture, global food production has been geared toward creating more profit instead of keeping people fed and healthy. This is why supermarkets can be considered indicators of the problems inherent in a profit-driven food system. All we have to do is look at the islands of plenty and abundance encapsulated by supermarket chains, look at the copious amounts of waste that get generated as a result of that overstock and oversupply, and look at the millions of people living in hunger who are denied access to food, to see that our current system regards food as an economic commodity, not as something that has value in nourishing and sustaining life. And food that is treated as a commodity is much, much easier to throw out and waste. Next slide, please. So, what can be done about this? something that is already being done as supermarkets donating excess food to food drives, food banks, and community pantries. While it is not a permanent solution and doesn't address the structural issues in overproduction we've discussed here today, it has helped some communities in need and prevented some food from going to waste in the meantime. While much of what I talked about today is in the realm of the private sector, solutions to the food waste issue should extend to other sectors because it is a holistic problem. Government policies, legislation, and regulation can be significant in changing the current system by helping to restrict the power corporate retailers possess. This regulation can include restrictions on how much supply supermarkets can acquire and stock to limit overproduction in industrial agriculture and farming. Simultaneously, restrictions would need to be enacted on how much food waste corporate retailers can produce, with penalties on those who exceed the agreed upon limits. There's also the need for restrictions in advertisements and aggressive marketing tactics, which can help reduce subliminal pressures on customers to constantly purchase and consume. Preliminary research has shown that stopping these advertising and marketing strategies can significantly reduce the food waste generated in households. Legislation can also be aimed toward requiring corporate food retailers to support local food producers and farmers, which would shorten supply chains and reduce the waste generated at every stage. A study in Indonesia detailed how this type of legislation was passed in an attempt to curtail the amount of produce supermarket chains were importing, if those produce items could be grown locally in Indonesia. However, an interview with a manager at one of these supermarket chains revealed the legislation wasn't very effective because the locally grown produce did not meet the store standards in terms of aesthetics and quality, as they catered to upper and middle class individuals who could be pickier about the food they bought. Therefore, if this course of action is to work, legislation requiring stores to support local producers has to be stricter across the board. The trained consumer expectations around aesthetic standards won't change if stores keep directing customers to the perfect looking imported produce. In limiting corporate retailers' power, it is also important to bolster and reintegrate small scale community stores, pantries, and traditional vendors in urban areas. Corporate retailers tend to import large volumes of their products, especially to cater to high end consumer tastes, which lengthens supply chains and increases the risk of spoilage, damage, and waste at every stage of the process. Small stores and traditional vendors, such as wet markets, generally source products that are seasonal and domestically grown. Connecting local farmers to local and smaller vendors can help reduce the need for imports and lessen the influence corporate supermarkets hold as the middleman in the food supply chain. One last suggestion is to strengthen urban gardening and farming practices. This can help improve people's access to sufficient and nutritious food, especially those who are marginalized and living in food insecurity. This would require educational programs and resources to teach people how to effectively grow fruits and vegetables, as well as increased access to designated community lands. Giving people a space and resources to grow their own food can also have the effect of bringing individuals closer to the practice of personal and community food production, which is largely different from the detachment to food industrial agriculture practices have been facilitating. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I don't have all the answers. I don't have a better system right now that will solve all the overproduction and food waste issues we are seeing. While I highlighted corporate-owned supermarkets today as enablers and indicators of the problem, what we need is a whole of society approach that involves different sectors working together to create structural and cultural changes. I ask that we work together toward a better system that restores value to food as something that feeds and nourishes us and is meant for everybody. I ask you to imagine what that system might look like. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaylee, for your very informative talk. Kaylee highlighted that there are broad structural issues at play when it comes to food waste, particularly overproduction, and that waste is built into the very supply chains of our food systems, focusing on profit and not the health and wellness of peoples. Kaylee also highlighted how government legislation, regulation, and policies can help respond to this waste generation. And maybe our next talk might shed light on this possibility. Originally, our next speaker for the webinar was supposed to be Mr. Emmanuel Hugh Velasco from the Quezon City Sustainable Development Affairs Unit. However, Sir Nonong is unable to join us today due to another appointment. But do not fret, Sir Nonong has suggested a representative of the QC Sustainable Development Affairs Unit, Mr. Francis Ian Agatep, to give insight into the work of the QC government in matters of food waste. Francis Ian Agatep, after graduating in 2013 from the Ateneo de Manila University, kicked off his career in Ayala Foundation as program coordinator for the Careers for Street Youth program, which provided on-the-job trainings and bridged out of school youth to mainstream employment. As part of the foundation, Ian took multiple roles. He was part of the measurement and evaluation team of the foundation, where he gathered baseline data for several projects to jump off AFI's focus on social return on investment, one of the foundation's key impact measurement tools to align with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. He also became a learning development practitioner under the Human Resources and Corporate Resources Division of the foundation, engaging in change management initiatives, strategic planning, career planning, competency-based training and development, and employee engagement for the foundation's talents. As HR, he worked on strategic initiatives that tied the foundation's programs in creating greater impact to its communities with the Ayala Group. After almost 7 years in the nonprofit scene, Ian moved to the public sector and took on the role of consultant for the Office of the City Mayor with local government of Quezon City under the Sustainable Development Affairs Unit. He's primarily responsible for the design, development, and execution of projects, programs, and initiatives as set by the head of the unit and aligns programs and initiatives to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Currently, the unit is driving on efforts in modeling innovative solutions and improving food systems and enhance the city's food landscape from production to consumption as part of the city's food security task force, established at the onset of the pandemic. Quezon City is in a position to improve the city's food systems and revolutionize how cities in the Philippines tackle food security through comprehensive, integrated, and innovative food systems practices that will benefit its citizens. Today, we'll be listening to the recorded talk of Mr. Agatep entitled Quezon City Food Security Task Force. Let's tune in and see what he has to share about the situation of food waste, especially as seen within the situation of Quezon. I'm sorry. Carl has informed me that yes, we will be listening to Mr. Agatep, who is with us here and now, and we'll listen in on what he has to share about the situation of food waste in Quezon City. Take it away, Mr. Agatep.
Thank you, Justin, for inviting us here. Let me share my screen. There. So hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting us, Quezon City Food Security Task Force, for this food loss and food waste, what can be done, policy and governance of sustainable food systems. for your fifth and final policy webinar on food systems. So first and foremost, what put together the Food Security Task Force was really global and local prompts on food security. You would see here the things that has happened in the past few years or so, and most recently, of course, the unrest that we have in the Middle East. And these are not just affecting food, but also different aspects of our economies as well. The main focus of the entire task force is really to feed vulnerable sectors and get in touch with our communities. And the focus of Mayor Joy's agenda when it comes to food security is really to ensure that the food vulnerable sectors have access to safe, nutritious, and available food that is close to their communities. Maybe to get a better picture of the entire engagement, I'll share a short video.
Wala kaming inaasahan na kinsina, katapusan na sahod. Ikaw lang yung nagpupuso sa pamilya.
Noong time na yun, biglang nag-pandemic. 3,000 na yun, iniisip namin mag-asawa. Paano pagkakasyahin?
Dito na rin na kasi minsan kumukuha ng, yun nga, sustain na pang ulam, ganyan. Tapos, na-encourage ako sa kanila, lalo na sa mga nanay na na-lockdown na nga sila. Tipo, sige sila magtanim.
Yung mga gulay na na-harvest namin, binibenta namin.
Hungry man is an angry man.
Alam naman natin ngayon na nagkakaroon na ng food crisis. So itong urban farming ay napakalaking bagay kasi makakapagtanim tayo, maski nasa bahay tayo, pwede tayong magtanim. Maraming pamamaraan. Yun ang kagandahan ng urban farming kasi napakadali, in a short period of time, makakaani tayo, magkakaroon tayo ng pagkain. Ang kailangan lang, sipag.
Isa ito sa mga pinaka-paborito kong proyekto. Matagal na po natin itong ginagawa dito sa lungsod. Naniniwala talaga ako na kaya natin maging self-reliant kahit na tayo ay isang urban city.
Ako'y natutuwa sa programang ito ng Grow QC na sa pamamagitan nito at sa pag-ani ng mga itinanim ay madala natin ito sa mga community boundaries, kaya din naman sa mga community kindness stations sa mga parokya na itinalaga ng ating diocese.
Ang Grow QCO kasi, hindi lang siya urban farming. Kailangan tingnan din natin yung pagdaloy ng pagkain or food systems or food flow. Ito pong dalawang to ang susi para maatim natin ang kawalan ng gutom. SDG2 Zero Hunger.
Para taga-barangay Bagong Silangan nang nawala ang mga baboy namin dahil sa iisip, buti na lang nandyan po ang aquaculture nakatulong sa aming pagkain sa bahay.
Karoon
po kami ng munting garden sa aming compound na although simentado lahat ang aming paligid, pero gumawa kami ng paraan para makapagtanim. Dahil pandemic ngayon,
sabi nga po namin, halaman na ng pagmamahalan ito dahil dito po nabuo ang napakagandang samahan ng bawat grupong ito.
Nakita ko dito, pamilya, pagdadamayan, pagkakaisa. Sabi ko nga sa kanila, isa para sa lahat, para sa isa.
Your mayor, Mayor Joel Fernandez, was one of the first to put up the kadiwa. Mabilis siya nag-respond kagad nung nagtataasan niya yung presyo. Kaya yung Quezon City, medyo model namin yan eh. Kaya kung kakayanin ng sistema ninyo ang Quezon City, kakayanin yung mas maliliit. Naisip namin, dapat siguro, gawin na nating national program dahil lahat naman sa buong Pilipinas ay nangangailangan. Kaya maraming salamat sa LGU, Mayor, to the whole Quezon City government.
Hindi lang tayo nagtatanim. Nagpapakain din po tayo ng mga nagugutom. Kailangan bigyan natin sila ng lakas. We need to empower them. We need to teach them how to fish. To give them hope. Sa panahon ngayon talaga, ang pinaka-importante ay bigyan natin sila ng pag-asa.
Let's go, QC! Let's go, QC!
The program has been running almost 4 years. It started in 2020, established to Executive Order 32, which created the Quezon City Food Security Task Force. The flagship program put into action is named Grow QC, Kasama Ka sa Pagbubuklad sa Pagkain Kabuhayan, and Kalusugan Food Security Initiative. And it has two major approaches. First is enhancing urban food and input production, and the second one is the improvement of food systems. As of July 2023, we were able to look into the following areas as our impact. We've received word that we've around 18,850 urban farmers and 754 urban gardens and farms, primarily through the Mayor's Joy of Urban Farming project, which she started during her vice mayor days. And these are the people that are key in ensuring that we actually look at food from the smallest of food actors, and that is our communities. The entire task force is built upon an interdepartmental and multi-sectoral task force. And this is what's key in terms of the city. This kind of governance structure allows us to move around the different aspects of the city. You have to take note that as a highly urbanized and special city, wala pong municipal agricultural office ang Lungsod Quezon. And that is where we're coming from, and how we look into agriculture is from the lens of food systems. The framework that you saw earlier in the video captures how we envision an food secure urban ecosystem. We have it to look into production, but at the same time understanding food flow and food trade. And that's where processing, supply chains, processing, and marketing comes into value, as you can see here in the system. Because with a better understanding of how production is, but at the same time, as a city, an urban city, a highly urbanized city, we have to look into our consumption. In 2020, we put together a roadmap primarily as a response to COVID-19 and see how food security comes into play. But this was further developed, and as we continue to move forward now in 2022, we're imagining long-term food security and nutrition sustainability to various areas of programs and projects that the city advocates for. And in partnership with the national government, we have looked into how urban agriculture constantly is being eyed as a key mover in terms of food security. But the city believes that the improvement of food systems goes beyond urban agriculture. And that is why the objectives of the task force that was set in place in 2020 had primary SDGs in place, which is focused on hunger, economic growth, and health and well-being, but not putting aside the importance also of sustainable cities and communities where consumption patterns come in, the role of food in climate action, in ensuring that we actually partner with the right people and right stakeholders for these kinds of engagement. The city puts together an evidence-based approach for our development interventions. The heat map that you can see in front of you shows barangays where we have the most number of wasted and stunted children. Dr. Shell Habito puts it very clearly that either we are in a demographic sweet spot or we are on a demographic time bomb in looking at stunting and wasting. If we do not address this the earliest with our health interventions, then generations to come will have a problem in terms of productivity. As mentioned in the previous talk earlier, promotion of urban and peri-urban model is very important. And this is where the city would like to stress the fact that local urban food production will not survive for the city alone. We cannot be food secure alone in producing our own food. And we need the help of our peri-urban counterparts, food coming from the north and the south as well. And if we can open those barriers to food logistics and see how urban peri-urban relationships are together better, then I think better sustainable consumption in Metro Manila can be achieved. Earlier, the framework that we shared is translated to an 8-point action plan to respond to the emerging trends of improving food systems and the commitment to circular economy. As you can see here, for food production, urban agriculture stays the same, but for food flow and sustainable consumption, we added a new area, and that is food surplus and waste in number 7. This used to be a 7-point action plan. That's why from 2023 to 2027, we put together a strategic roadmap similar to what we had in 2020 to 2022, so that our strategic goals will focus on management of food waste at source, documenting city food flow, and integrating segmented food systems to reduce food vulnerable sectors and improve the status of food security in the city. Just to focus on key recognitions that actually push forward their agenda for food policy, the city was recognized as the Galing Po awardee in 2021 for the Grow QC program. In 2022, we were the DOH Healthy Pilipinas awardee, and we were a finalist in the C40 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Awards. In 2023, we recently, this is just last month, we were recognized under the HAPAG program of DILG. The program is also aligned to our Grow QC program here in the city. Some of you might be familiar with the C40 cities. It is the commitment of cities globally to reduce carbon emissions. And we are the lone member in the Philippines who is part of the C40 cities. And part of that commitment is the Good Food Declaration. And we have several policies aligning to that declaration which the city mayor signed. In 2022, the city became a member of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. It is to ensure that urban food systems are sustainable, safe, climate-friendly, inclusive, and healthy and affordable for all. Through this engagement, we were able to link a key research initiative with CGIAR, which is the Consultative Group in International Agricultural Research, for the Resilient Cities Program for Sustainable Urban Peri-Urban Agri-Food Systems. They were able to bring down 2 work packages for the city, and this is on nutrient-dense local vegetable production and piloting vendor business school. This will better help us understand our production patterns, especially aside not production but consumption rather, and help our vendors in our markets because we have to look how we're actually selling and how people are actually buying the kind of food that they see on their tables. Some of the partnerships that you saw earlier in the video to make our programs achievable are found here. Notably, we worked with the UN FAO and the UNDP for programs that concern sustainable food consumption and the UNDP ACE project, which is for circular economy. I also like to stress that one major component that will allow us to tackle the topic that you mentioned earlier on food waste is the community involvement. And without the help of people on the ground in actual organizations allow us to link into actual food systems on community level, we will not be able to understand where they're coming from and how the city is able to address them. Some key highlights on the 8-point action plan. The Joy of Urban Farming constantly provides seed starter kits and seedlings, and this is available at City Hall. Our community farms, we have around 10 in the city who are producing local perennial vegetables, which are easily grown in 30 to 45 days. Our aquaculture and aquaponics in various areas as well push forward for a more circular economy, making use also of our agri inputs there. Community feeding is done through various efforts of our social services development department, as well as engagement in our food rescue program that I will share on later. We've also linked our nutrition program with regards to how can we better influence our recipes, especially that we provide in our health centers. And this is promoting the use of nutritious and indigenous vegetables such as talinum, local amaranth like kulitis. And this promotes better healthy diets for everyone. Our continuing commitment on health and nutrition by linking also our Nutrition Month activities and also our Human Milk Bank. This was a partnership with the JCs where they sponsored vegetable bags from our urban farms to give to our lactating mothers. To our Climate Change Environmental Sustainability Department, we were able to pursue a key policy activation, and this was signed by the mayor in 2021, which is the Healthy Food Public Procurement Policy, which is a commitment that no public funds will go to the procurement of unhealthy foods. Our food trade is in relationship with the Department of Agriculture with their Kadiwa program so that we can get produce closer to our communities. To date, we have around 22 regular Kadiwa sites. As you can see here, vegetables, lowland vegetables still top aside from fruits that are being sold regularly. You can see the same also in markets around City Hall, in our public markets, and even in the areas of Commonwealth and Balintawak. Our engagement with the police and our uniformed personnel was aligned to the Peace and Order Council of the city. Their appreciation for food and at the same time livelihood brought about urban agriculture. It's an alternative for anti-insurgency activities. If you saw the video earlier, essentially a hungry man is an hungry man, and that is where they're anchoring that kind of rhetoric in pushing forward food security in our peace and order agenda. Now to tackle food surplus and reimagining food waste, I have a few points to share on the most recent program that we have. And this is in partnership with Scholars of Sustenance. It is a food rescue program, and this is part of our strategic roadmap. Their food rescue program and their rescue kitchen program involves rescuing good quality food surplus from various donors and distributing them to different communities within a 50-kilometer vicinity. So it's a national NGO, but they were originally based in Indonesia and Thailand. We want to promote more food rescue organizations because we understand that food surplus, as mentioned earlier by the previous speaker, especially on the aspect of overproduction and overconsumption, there is enough food for everyone. And we understand that we can just redistribute this food, and we have it on our lens of circular economy to get the right partners, and we want to bring more food establishments believing into food rescue and our rescue kitchen programs through SOS. This is their food truck, food rescue truck, because their main goal is cutting the logistics concern of the entire food rescue program. Instead of food being wasted and going to the landfills, they want to rescue it and bring it to the right consumers in the right communities. Quezon City was able to do this recently through a partnership with Alliance PNB, and we were able to bring rescued food from the Robinson's retails and Robinson supermarkets to our Mulavi Youth Home in Payatas. Now to link on the side of biodegradable kitchen waste and garden wastes, the city through its climate change environmental sustainability department engaged with UNDP through the ACE project, and under our market development administrative department, we have Project Zero Waste, which has rapid composters near our public markets. The goal of both is to look into garden and kitchen and market waste and to repurpose the kind of biodegradable and almost food waste so that it can be turned to something new. Like, for example, biodigesters that are put into our urban gardens and farms. And you can see here, our goal is to look at food waste to become compost, and we are bringing them already to our various urban gardens and farms. Quezon City is a big city, and we are trying our best to link communities that are closer to our urban gardens and farms and see how we can get food compost, household compost, with the assistance of our Department of Sanitation and Cleanup Works. You can see here, it's also part of our strategic roadmap to repurpose agri-input waste. Again, we are a highly urbanized city, but we have a lot of potential and opportunities that we can see in our public markets. And if we can have better policies that will engage this, we are sure to succeed even more in the years to come. These are the sources of biodegradable inputs and our beneficiaries, and with our logistic support from the SQC. Some key takeaways that I want to share with everyone is to create enabling environment for food systems and food and nutrition security. Legislation pass will be key in actually institutionalizing efforts for food security. You can see here our Quezon City Food Security Task Force through EO 32, our Healthy Food Public Procurement through EO 16, the Idle Land Tax Incentive, which pushes for not paying idle land tax as long as you have urban agriculture initiatives. Ordinance 3071, ang Kabahayan QC, Livelihood Training and Capital Assistance Program. That's around 10,000 to 20,000 grants to our Small Business Cooperative Development Office. And of course, new legislation that we want to propose is the food rescue and food donation policy, calorie labeling policy, and formulation of comprehensive food security and systems plan. At the end of the day, we call on the community here to look into research that builds on inclusive agri-food systems and sustainable consumption. You will help the city and our food actors to focus on system-level parallel changes. It has to be on all changes of the food system. It cannot just be one. We have to identify sector-based consumption behaviors and patterns, understand how cities are actually producing food. Why are we eating more of this and less of this? Look into expanding urban, peri-urban city relationships that support producer-consumer trade, and develop policy lobbying mechanisms that can really influence city-led programs for food systems development. At the end of the day, the call of the Grow QC program supports the UN SDGs. And Grow QC is not only a response to COVID-19, as it ensures safe, adequate, and nutritious food, livelihoods for a healthy citizenry, for a productive society. Because we believe that every city and municipality should adopt a food systems and security plan, and this should go beyond the city and become a more regional mindset for LGUs and beyond. So thank you very much. You may reach us through the following emails. I'd also like to say hi to Mac Lorendo. I think he is the next speaker, our partner, Scholars of Sustenance. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Sir Ian, for your talk. Thanks as well to Sir Nonong and the QC Sustainable Development Affairs Unit for this information and for the presentation. Sir Ian shared a video in his talk, and in that video, Nonong Velasco mentioned the importance of empowering people and capacity building. And I'm heartened by what Sir Ian has showcased in his talk, that there really are efforts for this envisioned empowerment and capacity building of creating a food secure urban ecosystem and sustainable urban, peri-urban agri-food system. It's great to see various past and proposed legislation by the QC government, and some of our audience members have already listed and asked some questions in chat or have privately messaged us regarding questions on these policies. So hopefully later, Sir Ian will have an opportunity to answer these questions. It's also good to see, for example, the food rescue program in partnership with Scholars of Sustenance Philippines. And I think our next talk will really focus on this topic. And Sir Ian had already brought it up that our next speaker is really someone who is collaborating already with them in some way. So for our last speaker of the day, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mac Florendo, founder of Food Rescue Philippines, who was inspired to start the organization after attending the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative in 2015 and learning about Boulder Food Rescue. Food Rescue Philippines collects unsold but edible food from businesses and redistributes it to churches, shelters, and low-income families through bike deliveries and volunteer transportations. The organization has been recognized for its work with awards from the U.S. Mission to ASEAN and San Miguel Corporation. In 2023, Mac joined Scholars of Sustenance Philippines as a food rescue supervisor. I'd like to now hand the floor over to Mr. Mac Florendo, who will be giving a talk entitled Saving the Planet One Meal at a Time.
And good afternoon. You can hear me well? Yes? No? You can use the react buttons, no? In our Zoom, or you can say hello in our chat box. Hello, hello. I just want to make sure that people are listening. I hope you guys are. I hope nabubusog kayo sa information, no, from the first two speakers. Yan, heart, thumbs up. Yan. You can show your faces din sa camera. Up to now, hindi pa rin ako sanay makipag-usap sa mga pictures lang, no? Profile pictures. If I don't get, hindi ko alam kung ano yung magiging reactions. So hello, good afternoon. Ayan. So again, my name is Mac. I'm the food rescue supervisor sa SOS, Scholars of Sustenance Philippines. So as mentioned by Sir Ian, no? So we are an environmental organization mainly. So we mainly work with food, no? Food waste, surplus food. Ito yung mga sobrang food na hindi nabenta or overproduced, near expiry kasi hindi na siya nako-consume, hindi na siya nabebenta. So what happens to these food? They throw it away, because of policies ng mga establishments. And it's actually hurting our environment. It's one of the biggest contributor to climate change, global warming. Actually, nasa global boiling point na po tayo. So it's actually very alarming. So as mentioned in earlier, I attended YCLE. So that was really focusing on environmental issues. So before food, I was really into environment. It's just that food is so common and so basic, and it's right in front of us every single day. Parang for me, why it's something na most people just ignore, because once it's out of sight, they don't think about the effects or the impacts. But for me, food is very important. Everybody eats food, and at some point, for sure, everybody felt hunger. And imagine all the fellow Filipinos who feel more than what you have felt. So every day, they're just finding ways how to feed themselves. So this is two really big problems na I'm very passionate about. So much food getting wasted and so many hungry people, starving. Ayan. But hindi masyado na-introduce yung aking background. But before anything else, I just want to share to you na I'm no foodie. I don't cook. I'm not a farmer. I'm not really into food. It's just that food, it's parang for me, everybody eats food. It's just that. And us working together around food is very important when you talk about sustainability. Mostly, di ba? So, kailangan natin ng food kahit magbago yung technology, kahit magbago yung trends, di ba? Mga trends dyan. Food pa rin ang pinaka-basic. Because without food, we can't think, we can't move, we can't go to school, we can't attend events. Anyway, just a little background. I want to play a video of how I started in food rescue. Ayan lang. Because kapag food, I want it to be unique, interesting, and fun. And when we talk about advocacy, it should be fun. Kaya I want to share my excitement with you guys. Para we don't just talk about concepts or ganyan. We want to make it fun because I want to take action. I want to take action with you guys. I was a student when I started food rescue on my own. So I hope you guys, ng mga students dito, or everyone in this Zoom, sana may gawin tayo after. Not just feeding the brain, it's good, pero you have to take action. Para, di ba, sulit naman yung pag-attend natin ng Zoom. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Yeah, let me know if you see it. Oh, I have to share sound. Okay. Any questions so far? I think my Q&A mamaya. Share sound. Yeah. So I was so thin back then. So I was a student back then. I'm gonna play this video.
Tuwing weekend ng umaga, diretso sa palengke sina Mac at ang kanyang mga kaibigan. Kinakausap nila mga tindero at tindera para humingi ng mga pagkain tira o hindi na naibenta. Ang mga nakolekta, dinadala nila sa mga walang makain at nangangailangan. Youth volunteers sila ng grupong Food Rescue ASEAN na proyekto ng 10 Accomplished Youth Organizations awardee na si Mac Florendo.
Instead na napupunta sa basurahan yung mga pagkain, what if diretso na lang sila sa mga nangangailangan?
Sa pamamagitan ng social media, nakipagtulungan siya sa iba't ibang volunteers mula Iloilo, Bacolod, Agusan del Sur at ngayon sa Metro Manila. Dahil Christmas season ngayon, nagkaroon ng espesyal na handog ang Food Rescue ASEAN para sa mga bata ng AHA Learning Center Makati na nagbibigay ng libreng tutor sa mga public school students.
Mahalaga po yung feeding program kasi pag gutom po yung mga bata, hindi sila nakakapag-focus sa pag-aaral nila, tsaka distracted po sila.
Pinagsaluhan ng mga bata ang dala nilang masusustansyang pagkain.
Para sa akin kasi yung food is basic issue siya. Mayaman ka man o mahirap, kailangan natin ng pagkain.
At ngayong Pasko, kung kailan kaliwat kanan ang mga handa't Noche Buena, isa lang ang panawagan ni Mac. Handugan ng regalo ang mga kapamilya nating kumakalam ang tiyan. Dahil ang sobra sa kailangan natin, maaaring makapagligtas ng buhay ng iba.
Yan, thumbs up naman or palakpakan nyo naman kung na-enjoy nyo yung balitang yun. You know what? The very first thing that got my attention sa food rescue was not the food, was not feeding people. It's actually the bikes, no? Bicycle. So I was a student when I started back then. I go, wow, so interesting na you just pedal for 15, 20 minutes carrying food and giving it to people in need. Hindi naman ako yung magluluto, di ba? So wow, I'm helping the environment and people. Ang galing ng idea, just rescuing food. It's more of logistics lang eh. Sabi ko, ito na yun. This was a light bulb moment for me. I was in the US when I learned about it. I brought it to Dumaguete, to Metro, yan sa Metro Manila when I moved to Metro Manila. Sabi ko, ang galing. The dream is simple. No? The dream is simple for me. I just want to see more productive, more progressive, happier, healthier Filipinos. Very simple. So how do we achieve that? No, simula tayo sa pinakasimple na kaya natin gawin. Pagkain. Pag may pagkain ka na, pwede ka nang isip. Pwede na pumunta ng school. Pwede tayo maglaro. And then we can create more, di ba, productive, create more studies. And the whole process is also exciting din. Pag busog ng tiyan, maraming magagawa. Alright. So, fast forward tayo ng konti. No? So I've been doing it since 2015. And why do I still do it now? No? So same reason, I just want to see a better Philippines. Yun lang po. And I'll do whatever it takes. Pero hook na po ako dito sa food rescuing. Sabi nga ng first speaker natin, it's not a solution, but it's something that we can do now. All right. So just this year, I joined a bigger organization called Scholars of Sustenance. So they found me, they saw my work, and kinuha na nila ako. Na masaya naman ako. And then I'm going to share to you about SOS, no, Scholars of Sustenance. So Food Rescue Philippines was something that I created, a volunteer group, but it didn't really, parang hindi ko naman focus talaga kumita. So non-profit din siya, but it was a personal advocacy na feeling ko forever na yan. Yeah. So next, I'm gonna show to you another video. Mahilig ako sa video kasi it's para nakaka-break siya ng ano. Okay, share screen ulit. Share. May mga question.
Walang sayang dito. Imbis na mapunta sa basurahan ang mga gulay at prutas na ito, nakaisip ng paraan ang isang concerned citizen paano ito mapakikinabangan ng mga nangangailangan. Sa pamamagitan ng food rescue, natutulungan ang mga establishmento na mabawasan ang kanilang tinatapang produkto at ang mga komunidad na nagpapakain sa mga nagugutom.
Food rescue, it's a practice. For us, we work with different food establishments and then we talk about their excess food, mga surplus food. And kung pwede, collect them and then we give them to people in need.
Sa tulong ng Scholars of Sustenance o SOS, isang international food rescue foundation, mas dumami ang mga natulungan niya.
Ang operations kasi namin sa SOS ngayon, 7 days a week. Kasi every day there's food getting wasted and every day may mga nagugutom. So of course, we'll be needing support from everyone to be able to sustain what we do.
Kwento ni Mac, kayang magdala ni Kagat ng mahigit 1.5 tonelada ng pagkain. Sa loob pa lamang ng 6 na buwan ng SOS PH, umabot na sa 54,774 kilo ng pagkain ang na-rescue at na-donate nila sa halos 40 partner communities sa Metro Manila. Tinataya nga abot sa 230,389 meals ang napamahagi sa mga komunidad.
We wanna save the planet one bite at a time. Sana maging aware yung mga tao sa bawat kagat nila ng food nila. I want food rescue to be a lifestyle for Filipinos. We can create more impact by talking about food rescuing.
Okay, yan. So from bikes, no, ngayon I'm working with a bigger group who has a truck. So ako rin na-amaze ko. I never imagined na pwede mangyari yun. But I just stayed true. I just stayed, di ba, akong real. I just wanted to contribute I started alone with my bike. Imagine that. And now I'm working with an international organization. So now, at this point, we've already served 800,000 meals since last year. So malapit na po tayo sa 1 million mark. And yeah, it's attracting the attention of everyone. Now, we're happy that we're working with LGUs. Kasama si yung QC LGU natin. Actually, yung kanilang member din from the Food Security Task Force, they joined our food rescue. So we have a truck that goes around Metro Manila picking up food. So si Sir Eddie Atilano, so he joined. Early morning, he had to wake up to pick up some food from the hotels and supermarkets. And dun. So that's also an opportunity for you guys to volunteer with us. You can cook with us, join us in our rescues para makita nyo anong pwedeng gawin. Kasi yun din yung na-experience ko when I learned about Boulder Food Rescues. So I want to share the same experience, and you might think of other ways on, di ba, rescue food, di ba, to contribute to the planet positively and ano din, sa people. And yeah, I want to share to you more stuff, no, videos, presentation. Pero presentation tayo para maiba naman. Bibilisan ko lang kasi the other facts naman na discuss naman ng other speakers. So, pinadali nila buhay ko. Yan. Okay, so saving the planet 1 meal at a time. Na parang superhero yung datingan, no? Which, ano ko yan, childhood dream ko yan, to be a superhero. So, I think nangyayari naman siya. Ayan, so yung mga members ng SOS, si Arthur, Director of Operations namin. So we don't just share to you na parang, oh, we're helping people or helping the planet, but we're really tracking everything, no? Talagang database din talaga kami. When we talk to businesses, to LGUs, we have numbers. We track everything from food, the type of food, ilang meals yung nagagawa, and then yung even the CO2 emission equivalent, no? Environmental reporting, we also do that. So I also work with Patricia. So focus naman siya sa partnerships and mga grants. So anything money related. So fundraising si Patricia. And then me. So food raising naman ako. So kung may fundraising, food raising. So I have to show everyone na food rescue is working and something that everybody can do. Ayan. So I used to have long hair during the pandemic. But food rescue taught me a lifestyle na parang sharing what you have, giving what you can. So I just grew my hair, and of course, somebody might need hair, wig, diba? So I donated it to another foundation. So someone out there has my hair. So yan, I also apply it to other aspects of my life, giving time, sharing my talent, no, sharing knowledge with you guys. Yeah. So sana kayo rin, no? Offer something na meron kayo or something sobra. It doesn't have to be money and food all the time. But it's a concept, no, na pwede niyong i-apply. Yeah. This is another video. This is an 8-minute video naman. Sobra na ako sa time, but try kong pabilisin. Again, SOS it's an international organization that started in Thailand, Indonesia, and finally it's in the Philippines. So in the Philippines, we've been operating for 1 year. And yun din, napadali din ang buhay ng mga Philippine sa SOS Philippines kasi somebody started it first. So their best practices we have learned already. So anyway, I'll share a video, and if you have questions na later on, you can ask. Wait lang, may audio ba to? Share screen, share sound. Where's my presentation? I lost it. Nahanap ko yung presentation. Where? Sa baba, yeah. May video ba? May sound ba?
Welcome to Karambitan Castle in Tabanan, where we're sitting here, and we're going to give away 100 care packs. And each care pack, I think, is about 50 standard meals. So, you know, we're talking about 5,000 meals, and it's going to be wonderful to see it going to 100 self-isolating families here in Tabanan because of this virus, and it just has created so much havoc and hunger. So, at least we can do our little part.
ขอบคุณ SOS ครับ
Saving the land, serving the people, feeding the mind. That's the battle cry of Scholars of Sustenance, an environmental organization that advocates the fight against food loss and waste, a non-government organization that champions the fight against food insecurity, a global organization that pushes the fight in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. In the last 7 years, we've successfully operated in 7 cities: Bangkok in 2016, Bali in 2017, Phuket in 2019, Hua Hin in 2020, Chiang Mai in 2021, Manila in 2022, and Jakarta in 2023. Together, we now have served 30 million meals to thousands of vulnerable communities we support. From low-income communities where most of the individuals are trying to survive every single day, to orphanages, women's shelters, and disability centers that are fighting their chance in this life, to juvenile detention centers and prisoners that have lost their freedom, to public health centers and public preschool centers that have very limited resources, to remote places of the country that has less access to other good food, and even the migrant workers and refugee centers that have fewer opportunities in the country. Our vision is all about food equity, where we believe that everyone should have access to good food, regardless of their race, status, background, sexual orientation, color, age, and religion. In Thailand, where mostly are Buddhists, in Indonesia, where mostly are Muslims, and in the Philippines, where mostly are Catholics. We've bridged the gaps and uncovered boundaries. Our work is a multi-sectoral commitment to ensure that our deeply wounded environment and our struggling fellow men remain our priority. Every single day, our food rescue ambassadors patiently navigate the road using our cold chain logistics to rescue all good quality surplus food available from all of our partners in the food industry, to buffet food and pastries from different hotels and restaurants, to a variety of commercial goods from supermarkets and convenience stores, to surplus products from small and big manufacturing companies, to surplus goods from international school students and residential complexes, to surplus produces from local farmers. These good quality surplus food have been inspected by our partners before they hand it out to us. Then our food rescue ambassadors will inspect them again before they load them in our truck. Then our community partners will inspect them again during the sorting process to ensure that the quality food we serve are in their best condition. This is our 3-step food safety protocol we follow, because in SOS, food safety is non-negotiable. Then each collection gets weighed and kilogram data is entered into our FoodWire application, which allows us to gather all data. Through this technology and with our efficient data system run by our data analysts, we are able to measure the meals we serve and our environmental impact. This allows us also to send a comprehensive report to our partners every month. This report, the training we provide to their staff by our food safety specialists, and the collection of food are all done and given for free to all of our partners. Then all these rescued food are delivered straight to different vulnerable communities. This allows us to feed people by not buying food, but by simply redirecting available food. Instead of ending up in our landfills that harm our environment, vulnerable individuals get to enjoy this food, and food companies lessen their food waste. A win-win solution for all of us. And we do it 7 days a week, rain or shine, even on holidays, even when there's an earthquake or flooding, and even during the pandemic. Our heroes taking all the risks just to serve the people in need. Now, we're not just rescuing food. We also started cooking those rescued food ingredients so we can turn them into nutritious meals. Together with our amazing community volunteers, plus our volunteers from corporate companies who are doing their CSRs. They prepare, cook, and serve it to undernourished individuals in vulnerable communities. We also prepare healthy school breakfasts for 2 to 6-year-old students together with their teachers so that we can aid proper nutrition good for their brain development. All these are made possible with the help of our food partners that supply us food and non-food companies that provide volunteers and funding for our many programs. For the last 7 years, we have not stopped our operation. We kept going. We walked the talk, and we keep growing our impact. 30 million meals served, aiming to serve 50 million meals by 2025. We are out there continuously campaigning for this mission, attending summits, conferences, forums, events, so that more individuals, companies, and organizations will know more about our mission and will help us achieve our common goals. We are disrupting the system, driving the change in our food system by gathering the government, businesses, academia, and civil society to act on our environmental and social problems, as these issues can only be solved by doing it together. We cannot close our eyes to these problems. We don't have much time tomorrow. We've passed the global warming era, and we're now in the global boiling stage because of the tremendous impact caused by carbon and methane emissions. Now is the time to act together and address these problems. Local and global brands are now donating their surplus food. Students and residents are doing food drives. Companies are allocating their CSR budgets to more sustainable, long-term, meaningful, and impactful activities. There is a movement that will soon influence our food system, our laws, and our way of living. Let's all save the land. Let's all serve the people. Let's all feed the minds. This is what Scholars of Sustenance is doing. This is our story. This is our mission. Join the movement now.
Ayan, so that's SOS for you, Scholars of Sustenance. Now, gagawin ko isang pasada lang ng presentation ko. Since na-mention na din yung mga ibang facts, no? Okay. Share. Oh, sorry. Oops. Next slide. Ayan. So it's just that's there's so much food that's wasted. There's a 10-8-1 concept na share na rin to kanina ng first speaker. There's 8 billion people in this world, but we're producing food good for 10 billion. So, and then 1 billion nagugutom. So even if you feed the 1 billion people, ang dami pa rin sasayang. Diba? Narinig na natin yung saying na parang don't give fish to a man, teach him how to fish. But it just so happen there's so many fish na hindi pa nakokonsumo. So nasisira, nasasayang, then it affects our environment. So yun din ang concern natin, di ba? Overproduction. Kaya nasasayang. There's a lot of reasons why there's ang daming nasasayang na pagkain. People cannot afford it. Of course, sa grocery, dapat laging may laman. Sa events, di ba, dapat may buffer, merong sobra. Dapat laging may sobra. You go to an event na good for 100, they prepare food good for 150. At the event, only 75 people came. So it's always the case, no? Yan, alam naman natin ang daming nagugutom na Pilipino for so many reasons. Inflation, they simply can't afford it. Opportunities, wala rin. So talagang interconnected ang problems dahil lang sa pagkain. Ayan. Actually, may nagtanong. Ayan. So more facts on food insecurity. 93 kids die every day because of malnutrition according to UNICEF. Marami namang Pilipinos na nakakain pero ang tanong, healthy ba yung kinakain nila? Diba? Kung magkano lang ba budget nila per meal? 20 pesos, 30, 50, 60? Magkano na yung pares ngayon? 70 pesos? Yung quick, 20? So, hindi healthy. Nakakain sila pero hindi healthy. Ayan, so mga maraming factors. No? So, better food system from farm, manufacturer, distribution, retail to service. Actually, everything here is technical, but I just want to introduce SOS to you first. If you're more interested, then we can talk more. Alam ko mga students and sa school yung audience natin ngayon, but ano lang natin, pasadaan lang natin. Actually, 75% of food waste is considered avoidable kung mas okay lang yung sistema. Diba? So what do we do? What do we do to lessen food waste? Better food harvest, better food storage, better transport system, better retailing process. Of course, di naman kaya ng LGU lang yan, di naman kaya ng SOS lang yan, or di naman kaya ng Ateneo lang yan. So really, it's everybody working together. That's why we need more events like these to talk more about what we could do and what's working already. Yeah, what can we do? And so, of course, there are practical tips. Individual level naman ito. Familiar naman kayo dyan. So sa SOS, we have food rescue programs. You've seen the videos that I've shared. So every day we do this. No? You can volunteer. We also do rescue kitchen programs, meaning you can cook with us. Is a schedule yan, of course. We have healthy schools program where focus lang tayo sa mga students na need ng nutrition. Yung ating agricultural recovery program, doon naman sa mga farms. No, ang dami nating programs dito sa SOS, kaya natutuwa ako. And of course, we do, sabi nga sa video, food safety is non-negotiable. If it's something kami na hindi namin kakainin or ang donor wouldn't eat it, why would you donate something you wouldn't eat? Diba? So we only rescue 100% good quality food. We give 100% good quality food, and the recipients, they eat 100% good food. So since 2015, wala pa kami problema, sumakit yung tiyan, or sabihin natin namatay, wala naman po. So everybody undergoes safety training, food safety training, from donors to us to recipients. So we don't just give to random people on the street. We also educate them, that this is the food, how to prepare it, how to consume it. Actually, may question sa chat na nag-PM sa akin. Ito na lang ba ang lagi namin gagawin? Magpapakain na lang ba tayo ng mga tao? Actually, for me personally, I don't want to do food rescue anymore. Diba? Because I have my own dreams. I want to be a performer. I want to be a director, producer. I have my own dreams. It's just that the problem is right in front of my face. Diba? And everybody is kasama eh. Diba? Involved naman tayo lahat. So, if wala nang food waste, if wala nang taong nagugutom, let's stop food rescue. That's the dream for me personally. So, but since nandiyan na yung problema, ilang taon na po at sa mga susunod na taon, tulong-tulong na lang po tayo. Yung slogan po ng SOS, it's feeding the mind. So actually, we're here, everybody's here to educate ourselves, no? It's just that food is the most, parang for me, the most visual representation of what we could do, no? Sabi ko nga, it's not just about food and money, but what you can really share to people. Ano ba yung, sabi nila, ambag mo? Ikaw ba, may ambag ka ba? So, yun lang. I want to put myself out of work as well. Kasi I want to see Filipinos pursuing their dreams, no? Having healthier and happier families. But meron pa tayong realidad. And food safety, very important. If we don't have the MOA, we don't engage with anyone. So of course, there's food na donatable and non-donatable. If mabilis masira, mapanis, iniiwasan po namin yan. But all types of food we rescue. So everybody, tinitrain po namin lahat. Food handling. Familiar naman tayo sa pagpag, no? It's something that we want to erase sa history ng Pilipinas. Kasi every time we go abroad, pagpag po lagi topic, pag food. Nakakalungkot lang itong pagpag kasi it's not a problem of may nagugutom. It's a problem of walang pera yung tao. So inflation din, no? 'Di ba may inflation? It's just that people cannot afford good food. So ano yung available? Yung pagpag. And alam niyo ba kung nanonood kayo ng documentary ng pagpag, yung mga nagluluto at nagbebenta ng pagpag, hindi kumakain ng pagpag. So they're just in for the money. Pinagkakakitaan po nila ang mga mahihirap. Yan. And may namamatay po sa pagpag, hindi lang po binobroadcast. Yun po yung nakakalungkot. So very important, food safety din po. It's not just getting food and giving it away. Check food safety. Ayan, so of course, kung kayo mismo hindi kayo confident to share food, then just don't. Yan, so meron tayong food safety guidelines, no? Very strict when it comes to food. Ayan, so these are just some practical tips na you wanna do at home. But for sure, alam nyo na po ito. Sorry. Yan, na-share na rin po ito ni first speaker. And, share food, buy only what you need. Diba? Encourage people to bring baonan. Okay lang po mag-sharon as long as you don't waste food. Same thing. So, we've heard of the saying reduce, reuse, recycle wherever we go, ganyan. Pero at this point, mga Pilipino hindi pa rin marunong mag-segregate. It's more of mindsetting lang din. This is really before reduce, reuse, recycle or rescue, reuse po muna. Tayo po, intindihin po natin ba't natin gagawin? Paano ba 'yung makakaapekto sa akin? Of course, it would affect yung future, di ba? The environment and the people. So first, understand that. Of course, yung sarili mo din, di ba? Sabi ko nga, the reason why I joined in food rescue, it's for the biking only. Because biking is fun, it's healthy. So, pero if I use biking in food rescuing, I can impact more people, not just myself. So, balikan nyo anong gusto nyo talagang gawin. Gusto nyo maging singer, pero, di ba, maraming obstacles, maraming problema sa mundo. So, balance nyo na lang. It's easy to be selfish, no? It's easy to say no. It's easy to do all that. Pero, kung gusto mo magkaroon ng mas meaningful na buhay, purposeful life, do something good, man. Yeah. Be educated and educate. Very important. Actually, share ko lang din. I'm also from Ateneo de Zamboanga. Walang taga-adzo dito. No? But I'm also an Atenean. Share what you know. Very important. Sharing is caring. Again, it doesn't have to be food or money. Share, man. Start your own initiative. So I started food rescue on my own, and you can too. If you want to start a food drive in your schools, we would be more than happy to help out. So this Christmas, we have 12 days of sharing. So 12 different kinds of activities of sharing. So it could be toys, food, non-food. And then we're engaging a lot of programs with corporates as well. And food establishments, schools, everyone. So check out Scholars of Sustenance Philippines on Facebook for announcement. Like and follow nyo na din para maraming may impact tayo. Ayan. So, challenging others, also very important. So, yan, sa government, di ba? You engage with the government, mga friends natin yan. So, push. We have to push some more, no? Push for legislations, yung food wastage, food donation, yan, working with us. And yun din, yung food labeling, date labeling natin, no? Sana ma-improve natin. Not everybody understands yung expiry date, best before date, manufacturing date. So we need to educate ourselves more, diba? To a level na even the layman can understand. Of course, business. It's easy to convince businesses now to do food rescue because of the word sustainability. So common na kasi yung salitang sustainability. So they're more than interested to work with organizations who's already doing it. Ayan, so yan. And same time sa mga schools natin, let's work on more research. Help us. You can work with us. If you need data, documentation, we'll provide everything. But you also do your part. Ayan, so talk about it in classes, do it in school, do it at home, do more research with business and government. Nandito naman po kami lahat. So lahat ng mga speakers, you can engage with them. Yeah, there's still so much to talk about, but I don't have the time in the world, and kayo din naman. But let's end it there and that way. So any questions, you can add me on Facebook or follow Scholars of Sustenance Philippines.
Thank you very much, Sir Mac. I love the energy of Sir Mac, no? Talagang very inspiring. We shouldn't just feed our minds, but this feeding of our minds should nurture our hands and our hearts to do some change, especially in matters of food systems, like food waste. And we can use our skills and talents and interests to do it, like in the way Sir Mac's passion for biking lent itself to contributing to food rescue. I think there were some questions from the chat about food safety and standards, and mukhang nasagot na in the latter part of the presentation. Thank you very much, Sir Mac. Later, we will have an open discussion session uh, for our webinar where you can ask, our audience can ask Sir Ian and Sir Mac about certain things pertaining to their presentations. However, for now, I think we'll be moving on to our lineup of various reactors who will respond to the various talks given by our speakers today. Next slide, please. So, for the first of our reactors, we have someone from the Urban Poor Association and Kabalikat Organization, Sir Georgie Tenolete. Sir Georgie is a seasoned UPA community leader who has a wide experience in leading urban poor advocacy on tenurial security and housing rights. He is the president of Kabalikat sa Conlaran, sa Baseco, a people's organization formed by UPA in 2001 to work on the issue of displacement in Baseco due to Pasig River Rehabilitation Project of World Bank then. Aside from advocacy on housing rights, Kabalikat also implements savings programs for their members, mangrove planting and urban gardening, waste management projects, health programs, and social enterprises within the Baseco community. Under the late President Noynoy Aquino, Kabalikat was able to access 36 million pesos housing budget for building of permanent houses for 128 families with their People's Plan proposal to Department of Interior and Local Government. Kabalikat, as a community-based people's organization, also implements Edukasyong Kabalikat sa Kaunlaran, a tutorial bridge program for the sons and daughters of their members and Baseco residents who are having difficulty in their lessons. The seed funding for this program came for a prize money of a winning documentary entitled Gutom. With EKK tutorial program, Kabalikat advocates to their members that edukasyon ang puputol sa kahirapan. I'm now going to hand the floor over now to Sir Georgie.
Isang magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at isang malaking parangalan po sa ating lahat. Ang comment, siguro, yung komento ko lang doon sa una, yung nakita ko kasi yung sobra din sa season market. Ang problema kasi ngayon is yung daily needs ng mga tao. So, income and how they resources, kung paano nila ito sinagsasabi. At ang daming more. No? Doon naman nila yung mga sobrang point lang, sana ang mapalakas natin yung community ng palengke. Kasi yung palengke, para maiwasan din natin yung maraming basura. Yung palengke, minimal lang. Namimili lang ang mga tao ayon sa kanila kung shopping sa pagkakas. Kung meron man sila sa pagkakas sa weekly lang yun. Hindi sila banahan. Mas more ang Philippines nila bigas. Ang ulam kung ano meron pagkakaso nila. So, saka bumasag din yung mga mall, yung maraming supermarket. Pinapatay nila dito yung mga maliliit na mga palengke. Because the community ay umaasa lamang sa daily income. The second comment is yung urban gardening. May kwento ako rito na nag-start ng year 2003 na isang setcom doon sa Gutom. Ang pinakita din yung isang pamilya na kumakain lamang ng kamatis. At ito ay umaga, kamatis. Isang tatay nila nagtatrabaho sa Divisoria. At meron silang 10 magkakapatid. So, paano nila sila sa tatay? At meron pa silang maliit na tatay. So, nakita, hinanapan namin ng konti. Kung isang pamilya talaga, nakita namin yung sinasabay sa isa. So, mula doon ay nagbigay ng tulong yung isang taga-Thomas sa Makati. Pinakita niyo itong concept na ito at sinonsitrate niya. So, tumulong din. Dito nag-start yung aming concept na naniniwala kami, ang edukasyon ay sa kailangan. Dinugtungan namin ito ng feeling program, which is ang mga bata, mahirap na bata, umaga, minsan dumidiretso pa sa eskwela ng dalawa. Kaya maraming mga mahilingan. So, nakita namin. Kaya, nag-create na yung tutorial program para yung paniniwala namin na ang edukasyon na pupunta nila. Dahil maraming mahirap. Ang hindi na papatuloy. Mas gusto pa mamulot, manalakal, mamalimot, o magtawa ng istorya. Kasi mas gusto pa nilang maglaga. Kasi walang pagkain. So, next time, yung ginawa namin ito ay tuwing umaga, ang ginagawa namin, pagpasok nila, kung galing sa school, sila, diretso nila sa amin, pakakainin namin sila. Yung aalis din sa amin, ng mga bata, nagsimula kami sa grade 5 and 6. Tapos nanganak, nagkaroon siya ng extension, ng 4 and 3 and 4, 1. Nagsimula kami sa 5 and 6, nagbuga namin ng 4. So, yun yung ginawa namin. At basically, within 2 to 3 years, nakita namin yung development ng bata. So, busog, nag-aral, nagkaroon ng pangalan. At sa ngayon ay may mga ilang kami mga profession nila. Meron kaming architect, meron kaming teacher, at meron po kaming mga engineer na nagtapos lang. Secondly, yung doon din nagsimula, nahugot namin yung tinatawag na urban gardening. Pagtanim kami, and then, lahat ng aming kasapian ay pinagtanim namin. Just three yung tinatawag natin benepisyo. Una, learning sa pamilya na magtanim ka ng gulay kasi mas malinis ang gulay na tinatawag. Ito na wala. Sure ka dyan. Walang forma din yan. Number 2, yung gulay na tinatanim din namin ay naibibenta rin sa aming mga kapitbahay. Pangatlo, ito yung ginagamit namin sa feeding program. Nagkakanda kami ng malunggay soup. Meron kaming patola soup. Minsan ay nagtotorta kami. Pero doon din namin napasitan yung tinatawag ng pangkong board. Isang tinuro namin kaibigan mula din sa kaibigan. Mula dito, yung garden, ang comment ko lang kasi dyan, urban gardening. Willing ang mga tao na magsabi. Pero kailangan ng suporta ng local government. Paano siya ita-transfer into income? Kasi yun sa amin, lahat ng network namin, nagsawa na magtanim ng ampalaya. Ang bumibili yung kapitbahay, pero ang dami kasi ng ampalaya. 20 talks na ampalaya, pag nagsabay-sabay ng mga ngayon, pakainin nila, pero gusto lang bibili. Pero iba talaga, ay kinamimigyan na ng mga. So, nakakatulong pa rin. Pero syempre, ang ganda rin na meron silang dito na nakakatulong. I think yung pagpag, nakita namin yun, reaction ko lang kasi kinuha yun sa amin sa community. Actually, ang pagpag, nung kinuha nila yan, dinedevelop po yan nila. Ano yung ginagawa nila? Hinugasan ulit yan. Pagka hinugasan, tinitimplan ulit nila. Hindi yan diretso, nagtitinda nila, but ipamimigay sa nila. Hindi yung gano'n, inaayos ko nila. Bakit pagpag? Kasi sa 20 pesos mo, ay makakakain ng bata. Very cheap. At kung meron kang nagkasakit doon, ay fix. Copy-copy kasi yan eh. May yung unang gumawa talaga ng pagkain ay iniikot niya sa pagdaling araw yung mga pagkain. Naikwento niya sa akin, sir, meron nga ako ng spaghetti na hinayang ako, halos kalating timba, sinapin. Hindi namin naagapan. itinapon ng isang kusina nito. Yung mga, naawa kami, na para daw siyang panghinayang kasi marami nagugutom na tao. Bakit hindi na lang ibigay sa kanila? Certainly, napansin din namin, the city, mga syudad sa atin, ay wala silang programa every barangay, ay dapat meron tinatawag na solid waste management na ilalagay nila ng composting, dadalhin yung mga basura ng mga tao, ilalagay. At very lapses ang mga monitoring. Hindi nagagawa lang ito mga isang buwan pagkat wala na. So, tapos yung siguro batas din kasi ang magtutupad itong mga store, itong mga, example, hindi ko nababang, mga laking mga store na marami talagang tinatapon. Kung titingnan yung mga black job na nilalabas yung jollibee sa iba pang department store, ay ang kumukuha nito mga urban store. Kung pinaport out, pagkitingnan, kung meron pa pwede, bilisin sa'yo. Hindi ba talaga sa kanila? Ang nakakalungkot lang, ito rin nagkukos na pagbara, ipego, pagbara. Tapos, wala silang batas na naglalayo na ilagay yung mga waste na to sa isang area kalapit sa mga commercial site. Ito palakas, ang community, hindi ganong malakas mag-create ng waste. Ang meron naman, ang malakas kami ng mag-waste, ito mga restaurant. Kumukuha ng permit para sa tinatawag na sanitation permit. Pero hindi naka-indicate doon na itong waste niyo ay ilalagay nyo dito. At itong mga waste naman ito na kung pwede pa sa tao, dapat ay merong ginagawang mechanism o sistema, and then they adapt the community at they adapt the family, then the family will direct it. Hindi kasi ganun sistema pa, hindi organized. So, hindi pa rin natin natasaturate. Nangangarap din kami magkaroon ng zero waste. Kami may program kami. Ang program namin ay solid waste management, MRM. Ano ang kinukuha namin? Plastic. Lahat ng klase ng plastic. May straw, may Yakult, yung kulay ng bat. Kung ano ayaw ng junk shop, kinukuha namin. Why? This is a waste. Isa rin po sa mga basura na nakapabara sa mga kanal. So, ginawa namin ito dahil tama yung sinabi ng isang teacher na, well, kanya-kanya ng tayo mo. Well, ang akin naman idea is, how do you call community development? Is not only the development, but also the people must know how to develop themselves. Disiplina at dapat ay merong organizing component sa mga ginagawa. And with a strong political law, strong policy at may political will ang lahat ng barangay council, local government, para ito ma-address natin. Sa Divisoria ho, napakaraming pagkain. Bakit? Sa madaling araw, nag-uuyan na lahat ng biyahero. Pag hindi nabili kanilang mga kalakal, itinatapo lang. Sinasako na po ngayon. If you observe Divisoria, pupunta kayo ng madaling araw, napakaraming hindi ko yan nabibili. Nagmamahal. Kung ako bibili ng 80 pesos ang kilo ng gulay, bibili ako ng isda. Sa amin, may mabibili ka pang 20 pesos na isda. Pinagkakasya na nila. Kasi yun ang kaya naman. Pag hindi yung hindi na yun ang gagawin na ng urban, dinadaig ko. At isa pa ho, dumadami ang mga dalang aso at pusa. Bakit? Kasi wala na napupuktur sa kanya. Dahil yung mismong pamilya ay wala nang kakayanang mag-alaga ng mga planta at napakarami. So, kung binitin na natin yan, not only ang tao, baka pwedeng tingnan rin yung mga hayop. Na ito ay yung mga food waste na talaga sa tingin namin, hindi pwede pang tao, kaysa itapo natin sa kanal yan, kaysa itapo natin kung saan-saan, why not to organize them into feed the animals. And then, we try din na maaral din naman natin yung mga hindi ko alam, pero tinitingin kami sa gano'n. So, ang food waste ay madali na sa akin, madali siyang i-handle. There's an organized from the local to the community and also for the mga professional. At siyempre, yung mga stakeholder, yung mga malakas mag-production ng pagkain. Kasi sila ka na ng ibahin. Ako, yun lang ho ang aking matutunan.
Siguro makadagdag din lang. Kami urban poor advocates, we work with the urban poor. Yung aming advocacy ay bukod sa security of tenure sa mga mahihirap o sa mga maralitang tagalungsod, gusto rin namin iangat ang imahe at pagtingin ng mga, minsan yung mga tawag namin nasa alta o yung mga nasa matataas sa urban poor. Ang natin tingin sa urban poor ay sila yung bahid ng lipunan, sila yung makalat, sila yung pero pag tingnan natin, ito nga din lang yung point of reflection. Sino nga ba, in terms of food waste, kaninong kasalanan bakit madami tayong food waste? Sinabi na yan din ang isa. Actually, the point of the first presentation is very correct. Gusto rin lang namin i-point itugan ko yung punto ni Kuya Joyce. Ang ating ng development is to set up supermarket, malls, pero hindi palengke. If you really look at, palengke is the way to go. You build more public market. Why? Kasi dyan, food is always fresh. Sabi nga niya, lahat pwede kang bumili. Ayun lang sa pangangailangan mo. But if you go supermarket, lahat, from all the way, styro, packaging, surplus. Pero kung palengke, ang isang maunlad na bansa ay maraming palengke sapagkat ang pera ng tao is diffused. Pero ano ang ating orientation? Mamamalengke tayo sa Alphamart, sa super hypermarket, it's all SM. We don't go to the palengke anymore. You go to the palengke because that is where you help SMEs. Microeconomy is there. Ang isang maunlad na bayan, may isang maunlad at maraming palengke. Ang bagsak na bayan, SM. Yan ang nagpapabay. That's actually one. Tingin ko, kailangan din natin ang point of reflection is we have to reflect on our concept of development. Having supermarket doesn't mean we are developed. If we have more palengke public market, ang masakit ngayon sa atin, yung mga LGUs, pinapatay nila yung public market. Look at Manila. Ang dami ng palengke na display yung mga mamimili. Pero sa palengke, doon ka sana makakabili ng pangangailangan mo lang sa araw-araw. Urban gardening is actually good, but ideally, hindi naman talaga siya makakatawid. Sa akin, noong panahon ng pandemya, we had a very good relief practice. Yan yung panahon na may surplus yung mga maraming farmers. At nauso din yung food pantry. Kailangan din natin i-rethink ang ating konsepto ng relief giving or gift giving. Huwag kayong mamigay ng dilata, hamon. Mamili kayo sa mga magsasaka natin. Idiretso na natin yan sa mga komunidad. Yes, we promote healthy food. Yung linkages, mawawalan tayo ng sobra. Turuan din natin at aralin din natin how can we preserve food. Yung tingin ko yung kailangan panawagan niya. Some countries are really doing it. Yung mga canning, we can actually do that. Kami, inaaral na rin namin sapagkat yun yung kaya tumataas yung presyo. Di ba? Yung the law of economic, yung may surplus, may shortage, yung tumataas. So, if we can actually stabilize na palagi tayo may supply, sibuyas, sana kung marunong na tayo mag-preserve yan. Yan yung isa rin sa But I think overall, we really have to do a paradigm shift. Yung reuse concept ng the last system. Technically, dapat talaga walang food waste. Kapag kumain tayo sa labas, balutin mo alam yung mga sobra mong pagkain, it becomes food for the stray dogs and the stray cats. Ang dami dyan. Kami sa office, kapag kami ay may meeting, darating ang aming leader, totoong may mga surplus sa pagkain yan. Kasi isa Sharon yan. Isa Sharon yan. Sa aming bangkete, pagkatapos yan, may isa kaming lalagyan. Doon lahat ng aming mga sobra, tirang pagkain. Kasi ibabalot yan para sa alagang hayop at alagang pusa. Tingin ko yung paradigm shift, hindi lang sa mga mahirap. Yung mga nakakaangat. Kasi yung pinaka-corporate talaga, those who have, yun. Bibili ng mga Starbucks, inumin lang, konti, tapon na, yung mga ganyan. So, hindi yan, but ang malungkot, yung tira, yun yung ibibigay sa mahirap. Bakit may pagpag? Kasi, kung may legislation sana na all restaurants, sabi nila kasi it's for sanitation, but you can actually do a legislation on this. You just have to do legislation. Na yung mga surplus, minsan kami na-iskandalo kapag kumain sa eat all you can. Have you tried when you try to go sa mga eat all you can? Tanungin mo yung mga waiter at mga waitress dyan. Hindi sila libreng pagkain, pero ang tirang pagkain, pinatapon yan. Diba? Malilinis pa yan. Diba? So, I think yun yung kailangan natin ipag-reflect on. Naalala ko yung lolo ko at lola, sinasabi nila yung bawat butil ng kanin, hindi yan dapat sinatapakan at hindi yan dapat sinatapon. Sapagkat biyaya yan ng Diyos. I think yung point ng isang speaker is it's because we look at food as a commodity. I think we should look at food as a blessing. Na kung yan biyaya ng Panginoon, yun yan dapat sinatapon. So, siguro yun din yung point din namin bilang urban for associates at ng Kabalisa. Okay po. Salamat.
Salamat po.
Thank you very much to napakamalaman ng mga shinare ng ating mga kaibigan mula sa UPA at Kabalikat. Magagandang balikan, no? Sino nga ba ang may kasalanan kung bakit maraming food waste? Maganda yung sinabi nila na ang supermarket napaka-wasteful with packaging. I'd like to echo what Ma'am mentioned a while ago. We don't go to the palengke anymore. Dapat mapalakas ang mga palengke, lalo na ang mga maliliit na palengke at public market na napapatay ng chain and big retailers. And also the importance of promoting healthy food. Even our food aid should be mindful of health. Diba? Nabanggit na nga bakit ang food aid comes in the form of mga delata. Ang urban gardening, nakakatulong rin ito kasi mukhang nagagamit naman sa feeding programs, nakakatulong di lamang sa issue ng food waste, pero sa food sustainability issue rin. Pero hindi lang dapat yun, hindi lang sapat na sagot yun. No? Isa yun sa mga maraming klase ng sagot ukol sa issue ng food waste. And yung importance ng mechanisms and sistema na organized, strong policy, the political will needed in local government in preventing food waste. Maganda yung naibahagi ng UPA na ang dream nila ay maiangat ang urban poor at ang pagtingin ng mga tao sa urban poor. And to echo what they said, mukhang kailangan talaga ng paradigm shift. Hindi lang sa mga mahihirap pero sa mga nakakaangat rin. So maraming salamat uli mula sa ating mga kaibigan mula sa UPA at Kabalikat. For our second reactor, we have the Ateneo Office of Ateneo de Davao University represented by Ms. Mitzi Salcedo. Ms. Mitzi Salcedo is currently the Sustainability Officer of Ateneo Office, the environmental arm of Ateneo de Davao University, and is a graduate of BS Environmental Science. Take it away, Ms. Mitzi.
Especially the efforts from our local partners in Ateneo de Davao in terms of securing food supply that would also be relatable to the presentations. But before anything else, I have main reflection. There's difference in terms of efforts here in Davao City or especially in Mindanao when it comes to the use or utilization of food waste or what's in the food loss. Kasi during the presentation, there is highlight in recovering or rescuing food. But here in Davao City, it's more on recovering what's already wasted. So before anything else, also, I would like to point out that was already shared also by the first reactor, um, the efforts of our government or funding agencies or even us institutions, we have that desire to help locals and other communities through trainings and workshop. But sometimes these programs, we should emphasize that this should be maintained or sustained. Then sustainable with strong and post activities, sustainable in which the beneficiaries shall be aided with assistance in the procurement of materials, establishment of facilities, actual demonstrations, guidance in establishment of systems for operations, financial management, and among others. The problem is workshops and trainings are treated as activities, not programs. In the name of food security, your participant's goal in attending is for him to produce goods, or create his own garden, or upgrade his farm, not just mere knowledge acquisition. Another concern also when we talk about food security is the quality of our soil, from agricultural runoff down affecting our bodies of water. So from our history of farmers or even corporates using synthetic fertilizers and pesticides to boost produce and market sales, also with influencing changes in the policies, it's a ping pong of enabling and restrictive policies. It would be a long-term effort to recover the quality of our soils. The degradation drives away agri-producers, especially those located near downstream rivers. Thus, I would like to share some of the efforts and applaud and share with you the pride from the three community efforts ensuring food security in an organic or natural way, especially in the name of soil science. So one of our community partners in Panay Municipality in Davao Oriental Province is a perfect example of an urban farming integrating solid waste management to food systems, which is headed by the Christian community and locals. So it is called the CEDAR Way. CEDAR stands for Christian Ecological Development for Agricultural Resiliency, and they strongly support the Laudato Si encyclical centered on the care for common home and the care for the poor. Through success in waste management, which lies in creating new habits in waste segregation, starting at every household. The CEDAR Way is a transformation of lifestyle in managing household waste and perception of waste disposal. These waste can be utilized as ingredients for biofertilizers and garden materials. And these are kitchen waste, home waste, yard, bulb, animal, and even data. Natural ways of processing this biodegradable or compostable waste are through composting and fermentation, allowing nature to transform organic materials into rich organic substances through the action of our little friends, microorganisms, and beneficial insects. It is as simple as the compost life cycle. From food to scraps to compost, turned into fertilizer and be used for growing plants and vegetables. I agree with the second speaker that there are a lot of potential from public markets. That's why the Center Way or their initiative is piloting schools, GKKs, households, and even wet markets. There's another composting initiative also in Barangay Tacunan, Davao City, the use of black soldier fly larvae. And they create value from food waste. And they are being consistent with the RA 90003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, which mandates all biodegradables to be composted. So ang technology nila is called limadol. Lima stands for lima as in 5 and dol for days of larvae. So 5 days of larvae. It transforms household food waste of the barangay into economically valuable resources. So they get all these food waste from household every day across the barangay, and then they turn it into valuable resources. You can also check their story, and if you want to know about their services, you can check it at their website, limadol.com. Then lastly, initiative here in Ateneo de Davao University is transforming the way we utilize the materials recovery facility. The way we understand the purpose of MRF is it's a facility where we recover materials and resources and shall not serve as a long-standing storage. Beyond its purpose to serve as a receiving and holding area, MRF must be designed efficiently in order to process the materials in an environmentally sound manner. And it is also emphasized in Section 33 of RA 9003. Managing food waste and yard waste are still an issue inside the campus, which sources come from offices, events, meetings, and daily operations of our food court. But as for food waste, they are handled at the grade school unit using bokashi composting, and dried leaves and other greens sooner be experimented with vermicomposting. So while we address the compostable resources inside the campus, the MRF also has become our learning hub for students, teachers, and visitors, making them understand that we, institutions, and even agencies, especially barangays, can transform MRF as a model for sustainable ESWM system, emphasizing waste turned into resources. So we treat these waste into resources. The MRF has invited a sharing culture in the community. So there are exchange of seeds and plants and byproducts from our composting and soil from the composted dried leaves. Usually it's the parent, or there are a lot of parents that they share their seeds or plants coming from their houses, and then in exchange for the soil from the bokashi. So the bioinoculants are also applied to the garden at our FRN. So through our champions, managing food waste and other biodegradable waste, the more it shows that resource recovery is possible, and the more it calls for strengthened participation from local NGOs and LGUs. It also invites every one of us to look into our consumption lifestyle and how we view available resources and facilities. For example, landfills, not as dumping sites, but designed to recover discarded materials, and it has to have composting area and sections allowing food growing activities. And the data that we get from our food waste or all kinds of solid waste, we use them in our instructional materials and we share them with other teachers as well. So that's all. Thank you at magandang hapon sa lahat.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mitzi. Thank you for sharing the specifics of the food waste and food security issues in Davao and Mindanao. There's a situation of recovering what's already wasted, not just food rescue. No, so that's the main. I think the main takeaway that I had is there this very interesting situation of and very worrying situation of the issue of soil quality damaged by the continuous use of fertilizers from the use of chemicals from big agrochemical companies, for the most part, who continue to have an oligopoly in the way we approach farming. And this is really a runoff and a a result of the Green Revolution approaches that we still continue to maintain since the 70s. No? And that's why what Miss Mitzi shared, such as the limadol upcycling example that uses black soldier fly larvae in order to compost efficiently and cost effectively. That's really wonderful news that gives us an alternative to commercial fertilizers that are quite ecologically damaging to soil. Not only does that divert food waste away from Mindanao landfills, but it allows for natural fertilizer that can enrich the soil beyond harmful chemicals. So this is very it's a very good sort of thing that was shared to us by Miss Mitzi. So thank you for that. For our last reactor, we have a faculty member from Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, Mark Sabines. Engineer Mark Alexis Sabines, the Director of Masters on Food and Agricultural Development at Xavier University College of Agriculture, brings over 2 decades of expertise as a faculty member in the Department of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering. His impactful contributions extend to research and extension activities, notably serving as the Associate Project Leader for a CHED-funded initiative and leading a CHED-funded ICT-aided community-based high-value vegetables extension service. He also excelled in various leadership roles, managing projects commissioned by USAID, FAO Philippines, and the World Bank. He's currently pursuing a PhD in Engineering and Technology at the University of Mons, Belgium. Engineer Sabines holds a master's degree in Water Resources Engineering and a bachelor's degree in Agricultural Engineering, where he topped the national licensure exam. His comprehensive background reflects commitment to advancing agricultural and food systems for sustainable development. I'll hand the floor over now to Engineer Mark Sabines.
Magandang hapon sa lahat. Unang-una, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to be one of the reactors. And we have 3 presentations, magagandang presentation, very interesting. At isang napakasabi nga ni Dr. Tuan yun, timely topic, yung food loss and waste dynamics. And it's a good opportunity na ito, yung platform na to, pag-usapan tong topic nito. Kasi yung food loss and food waste, ay parang nakasulat lamang sa aklat na tuwing pagkatapos nating pag-usapan o nababasa, pagsarado ng aklat, nalilimutan ng lahat. And it's really very important to talk about this topic, not only at this moment, but we hope to continue this in the future. Food loss and food waste is yung dynamics is very complex. At dahil komplikado nga ito, dapat nating maintindihan unang-una kung ano ba yung food, the science of food, the science of food production, yung mga practices kailangan nating maintindihan. At in fact, here we are on the northern part of Mindanao, and the College of Agriculture, Xavier University, we're working with vegetable farmers for more than 2 decades already, and we have met and talked to 7,000 farmers already. At yung food loss nga is very complex. Sa farmer side, more than 50% yung nawawala, and even more depende ngayon sa sitwasyon. So for example, may bagyo, may bagyo. So pag may bagyo po at magdi-declare ang pag-asa na signal number 1, wala pong lalayag, di ba? Walang trip sa barko. At dahil dyan, yung vegetables dito sa Mindanao, especially Bukidnon, hindi nadadala sa ibang market like Cebu, Bohol, in Visayas, and even some parts of sa Metro Manila din. At dyan, tonelada, hundreds of tons of vegetables nasisira. Dahil sa masamang panahon At kahit yung init lang na panahon, nasisira din yung vegetable produce. Tapos yung komplikado din because if you overlay that with the human and social dimension, yung attitude natin towards food, that also intensifies the food loss and food waste. And it seems that there's also the lack of political interest to these topics. Buti na nga napag-usapan natin ngayon, but if you look at it, our politicians and our leaders seldom talk about this issue. Nakikita rin natin yung epekto ng economic status ng individual at saka pamilya. It seems that the poor consume lower quality vegetables at yung mga may angat sa buhay ay kahit konting damage sa pagkain, hindi na nila kinakain at tinatapon na lamang nila. And if you look at it also, dahil livelihood nga ito ng mga farmers, ibig sabihin dito sa kumikita, kaya mahirap nating i-manage yung supply, yung may oversupply. And it seems that there's this mismatch of supply and demand. At if you overlay that with the price fluctuation and the lack of price information, mas lalong titindi yung problema kasi pag mahal yung gulay, walang bumibili, at kung mura naman marami supply, natatapon din. So it's really complex. And it shows also sa mga presentation na dahil komplikado ng ito, iba-iba yung approach natin at iba yung mga solutions natin. And from the presentation of Ms. Kaylee, nakita niya yung supermarket, no? Yung ano niya is research. Yung contribution niya. Sa Quezon City naman, it's the urban agri-food systems. At kay Max Lorendo, yung Food Rescue Philippines. Iba-iba yung approach natin kasi iba-iba yung nakikita nating solusyon, iba-iba yung ating understanding ng problemang food loss at food waste. Yun naman sa College of Agriculture sa amin, yung prevention is better than cure. So we want to minimize food loss and food waste. And we have projects before wherein we really introduce the processing of vegetables. Based on our data from 7,000 farmers, 80% to 90% of the farmers hindi nila alam na pwede palang i-process ang vegetables. And alam niyo, yung dehydrated vegetables, yung kasama doon sa loob ng noodles, instant noodles, yung dehydrated or dried vegetables, base sa aming proyekto before at partnership with Modernism, 100% ng dehydrated vegetable natin galing sa China. Bakit? Dahil walang kayang mag-produce dito sa Pilipinas. And we've just learned na kaya palang gawin. No? Gumawa kami ng mga technology in order to produce dehydrated vegetables. And we were able to really develop this product. Kaya lang, yun nga, nasa research scale, and we found out na it can really compete with the quality of this Chinese-produced dehydrated vegetables. Kaya kaya nating solusyonan mag-process ng mga vegetables dito.
I think he froze. Maybe we can wait a bit. Engineer Mark. Well, he's not in the room anymore. Anyway, And just to sum up, no, what Engineer Mark mentioned, no, food waste cannot remain something written in a book. It's something that needs to be talked about so that we can do something about it in a practical way into the future. And this begins with understanding the science of food, the processes involved in the production of food, and the experience of 7,000 farmers does not lie. More than 50% in food losses seem to be the reality for our farmers in Mindanao. And maybe prevention is better than cure. What if we could do processing that prevents these food losses? And he suggested things like new technologies such as dehydration of vegetables. So there's opportunity there. So I guess now we should, with the interest of time, maybe we can move now to the open discussion. I'd like to invite everyone to this open discussion and to remind again of the big question of our webinar: how can we contribute to reducing food waste in our own context? Feel free to raise your hand or share in the chat box your answers to the big question, or if you have any questions for our speakers, like Sir Ian, Agatep, and Sir Mac Lorendo, just indicate it to us. So, maybe one question pala. This one is from Eric Ben, and it's a question for Sir Mac. Sir Mac, what happens to the food that isn't considered rescuable or donatable? Is there a protocol for dealing with that?
Ayan. Actually, hindi ko masyado na-share yung regarding sa ating food recovery hierarchy, no? Share ko lang din. Yeah. So of course, food was meant to be consumed by humans, no? So ang target talaga natin is yung mapakain ng tao. Now once meron tayong sobrang food, so this is according to US EPA or United States Environmental Protection Agency, no? So meron tayong food recovery hierarchy. Now, sa side ng establishments, no, even with the help of LGUs, no, if we could reduce food waste, no, or overproduction of food, kailangan din aralin muna. So merong sa mga partner hotels namin, meron silang forecasting na tinatawag na may seasons na they have to reduce the production of food para iwasan yung surplus food. So from the source, no, and kung yung sobrang food, let's connect it to organizations such as yung sa atin, no, sa SOS. Actually, there's a number of food banks, soup kitchen, shelters, food rescue organizations naman sa Philippines. So it's about time din to recognize that there are efforts done by various organizations. And then we move to the next step sa animals naman. There's a number of groups doing this as well. So divert food scraps to animal food. But syempre, maingat din po tayo when feeding animals kasi minsan yan ding source ng sakit, no? Na pwedeng kumalat din. So pinag-aaralan din po yan. And then next is yung industrial use. So meron na rin technology to convert yung food waste or yung mga oils. And this can be converted into fuel, no, or create new energy. And then composting. So next topic din, no. Yun dapat ibalik din sa lupa para to create more food. So we also work with organizations such as Green Space. Kasi sa SOS Food Rescue, we really focus on food that can be consumed by humans. Of course, di naman namin kayang i-tackle lahat, no, kung regarding food and food waste. But really, we have to focus on one thing. And really, it's about gathering everybody to work together regarding this problem. And then, yun nga, yung pinaka-last step talaga is yung disposal. So, kung talagang hindi na siya ma-rescue, may steps tayo. Last step yung ating landfill. So, meron tayong most preferred, no? Reduce it from the source and really prioritize yung tao muna. Kasi tao naman talaga pwede magpatakbo niyan lahat. And nga, sabi rin dito, avoidable po talaga yung food waste. no, from the farms to manufacturers to distributors, kaya. So again, gusto ko lang emphasize na everyone is involved when it comes to food. Pag kumakain ka, kasama ka sa pwedeng maging solusyon, di ba? Or pwedeng pag-reduce lang din talaga ng food waste and food loss. And in terms of food quality, really it's 100% good quality food lang po talaga hinahandle namin. We train our donors, our staff, and even the communities to check on food. Kung si donor hindi niya ito-donate, hindi na rin namin kukunin. Our staff checks it. If it's something na maka-question, kung kami nagdududa na, wag na lang. Even the community. So we work with communities who knows how to look at food. Kasi may mga cooks naman dyan, no, mga nagluluto. So they know and they tell us, they report to us na, sir, hindi na po okay. Sige, please dispose it, diba? So may mga steps din tayo. It's really educating everybody about what we could do. Yan, so I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Sir Mac. May follow-up question, but this one is from Joanne Flestado and Ava Remonde. They're asking how to link with SOS Philippines. Kasi is it possible or available to do somewhere else like Sorsogon or Cebu? Because in the video, SOS seems to be working with specific cities in Southeast Asia, but are there possibilities outside of the cities listed in the video?
Yan. So sa SOS Philippines kasi 1 year in operations pa lang kami, and really we're looking forward to expand to more cities. May it be sa Luzon area or sa South. But yung experience ko naman, I started a volunteer group, yung Food Rescue Philippines, and it only shows that it's possible, no, to start your own initiative. And mas madali na ngayon kasi you can be guided by bigger groups such as SOS, no, sa Scholars of Sustenance. So yes, definitely start your own initiatives. We also work with communities. They have their own mga community pantry, little feeding program, and if they need guidance, we are here, no, happy to help guide all of you. We can, and really it's not just about rescuing food and feeding people, pero yung ano pang pwedeng magawa sa future. That's why we track everything, no, from the last, so pinakamaliit na kilogram talagang tinatrack namin. Yun din, pwede na din namin kayo i-guide regarding tracking everything, no? Environmental side, pati yung impact to the people and the planet. So yes, initially you can reach out to us, no, Facebook or email. Doon naman lahat ng details sa Facebook namin. So if it's something you want to do in school, start a little organization or event that you want to set up, so pwede naman po kayong mag-message, mag-email sa amin. If you want to do research thesis, nandito naman kami. If you want to do internships, we're welcome din namin internships. Yeah, let's continue the conversation, no, after this event. Pwede.
Ayun, thank you, Sir Mac. Speaking of continuing the conversation, there's a comment here in the chat from Leonisa Artes from the Post-Harvest Center at University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And Leonisa is highlighting that if food rescue efforts like those of Sir Mac have any questions about handling fruits and vegetables to possibly minimize losses, mukhang they have some, they're willing to share and help. So maybe a partnership with the Post-Harvest Center at UPLB might be an opportunity. So thank you very much to Leonisa Artes for that suggestion. This next set of questions is in relation to government and policy. So maybe Sir Ian might be able to answer for us. But if Sir Mac also wants to answer, feel free to do so as well. There's the question from Ana Victoria Faltado Simon from the QC Drug Treatment and Rehabilitation Center. How will food waste policy or food policy in general transcend into the domestic strategy? How will this be transcribed into strategic, operational, and tactical levels? And what are the roles of inter-LGU agencies and institutions in terms of collaboration? Because in the video that Sir Ian showed, we saw examples of intersectoral collaboration. So how do we bring policy from this level into like the domestic strategy, as well as questions about collaboration amongst LGU agencies and institutions.
Hi. Hi, Mamana. Nice hearing from you. I think what's key in interrelational activities for agencies in the local government is always to go back to the role of local governance, and that is policy. Once we are able to enact specific ordinances in the local level, specific executive orders, we are able to institutionalize these policies. But to get there, we have to see champions from different sectors or different areas of government. And that's why interagency task forces are important, such as the Food Security Task Force, which engages various departments and local partners so that we are able to share one, the direction of not only national government, but also the 14-point agenda, for example, of the city mayor, and see how this interweaves and intertwines with the rest of the policies and directions also of the whole of the local government. And lastly, if you want to operationalize further, you can always start small. Because by starting small, you can work on different programs and create more champions in the process. Um, the Joy of Urban Farming program started over 10 years, 14 years ago when the current mayor was still vice mayor. And I think what's important there is gradual changes and lifestyle approaches to our citizenry. And I think that is what's important. Similar to our plastic ban ordinance. In 2012, we first gave an option that if you want a plastic bag in Quezon City, you have to pay. And now we have banned it totally in 2019. So it takes time for changes to be pursued in communities. And I think the same goes with food systems and policies. So I hope that sheds a light on how you operationalize certain aspects. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Sir Ian, and also thank you, Anna, for that question. I'm browsing through some of the questions in chat, but there's also some questions that are directed to some of our that were directed to the organizers and also given to me. There's this question from Kim Gio from the Ateneo de Manila University, a student. Are there certain organizations in the Philippines dealing with food waste or food rescue aside from the ones already shared by Sir Mac and Sir Ian? That's a question for either of our speakers, but also for our audience. This question is not just for our speakers, but also for our audience, because some of you might be aware of these efforts. So generally, just a question about organizations that either Mac or Ian have been able to work with beyond Food Rescue Philippines, SOS Philippines, because Kim is asking. Yes, but this is also for our friends in the chat, just in case you have some answers.
I know. Hello. So
Yes.
actually, I made a blog post on food rescue groups in the Philippines. There's a number, no? So isa, of course, kami muna. Yeah, pero aside from SOS, there's Rise Against Hunger. So it's also a non-profit organization. Food bank as well, no? So in terms of disasters, mga ganyang pagkailangan, nandyan po sila. They can provide meals to those in need. So they also distribute food to vulnerable communities. So a difference lang ng a food bank and the type of organizations sa amin, no, sa SOS. Kami may more on daily. Kasi daily naman talaga mayroong hunger or nakaka-experience ng hunger yung communities natin. Regular basis talaga yung food wastages, no? And then si Rise Against Hunger, nagpre-prepare sila on mga natural disasters, ganyan. Si Simply Share Foundation, this is in Cebu. Yeah, it's also a food bank, so based in Cebu. So anyone based in Cebu, Simply Share Foundation. So same thing as what they do sa Rise Against Hunger. So nagbabangko ng food with the help of mga food manufacturers din. So Kusina ng Kalinga, it's from GK. So focused din sila on nutritious meals for undernourished children in public schools sa Philippines. And then of course, with Gawad Kalinga. So ano din sila, tutok din sila on natural disasters. Si Yellow Boat of Hope Foundation, so they also do it, no? So sila din, kumukuha din sila from the market or from the mga food sources, and then they focus on families naman. Si Yellow Boat of Hope, yan. Kawad Kalinga, Rise Against Hunger. And then there's itong mga groups naman to, food rescue groups, so they work with food that is still edible. Do sa mga food na hindi na edible, one partner that we work with, si Green Space Pilipinas or Green Space Philippines. So they work with bokashi or composting. So yan, pag may mga food na hindi na nakaya naming i-rescue, we refer yung grupo nila. Yun naman, it's a startup eh. So they have a subscription for sponsors or companies who want to work with food waste. Again, of course, there are small groups that you work with as well, ng mga community pantry, yung mga barangay-based communities. So tulong-tulong din kami. Kasi mas kilala nila yung mga nasa baba eh. So we work with other NGOs who know people we can work with. Food rescue groups. So we also work with really big companies now, even non-food related companies who support. I can share naman, one of our biggest partners, si Globe. They also have their own hapag movement, focusing on some food wastage and yung hunger nga. Kasi related naman talaga lagi yan, yung hunger and food, kasi food. There's a number of groups already. I think there should also be a platform recognizing all this organization and efforts. So annually, we have this Zero Summit sa SOS. We just had it last August. So really, parang bringing everyone together, no, academic, government, business, even other NGOs. Na involved naman, lahat naman tayo involved dito sa problem ng food, and we're actively working with Gio, si Gio, no. So we'll have researches together para mapag-usapan pa lalo yung problema.
And thank you, Sir Mac. And I think Sir Ian also shared some resources here in the chat in case people are interested, because I would have to echo, no, mukhang there's a lot, both from what Mac had said, but also from what's going to be what's shared here by Sir Ian. In the interest of time, and I don't want to be to spoil the party a bit, no, but it's already 4:45, which means we are at the tail end of our webinar. We have a bit more questions here, but some of these questions maybe can be something that can be relayed or discussed on our Facebook group, and we can also hopefully in that Facebook group talk about the big question as well. How do we participate in and contribute to the reduction of food waste in our own contexts and situations? So, and Carl has just shared this link in chat. All right. So due to time constraints again, I will now be closing the discussion portion of the webinar. I'm now going to call on Sir Ed Valenzuela, Adjunct Professor of the Ateneo School of Government and Project Coordinator for the SDSN Philippines SDG2 Zero Hunger Working Group, for the acknowledgement of speakers and reactors.
Thank you, everyone. It was a very interesting and very lively discussion that we've had. And I think we can find many synergies, potential synergies, no, on the issue. My task today is very easy. I have to kind of award the certificates of appreciation to our six speakers, so to speak. So maybe in the interest of time, we'll just read one, and these are more or less similar for all the six. So at least madinig natin, no? So in behalf of the whole organizers, no, SDSN Philippines, Ateneo de Manila University, Ateneo de Davao University, Xavier U, and Ateneo de Cagayan, plus the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability that hosts SDSN Philippines, and the Xavier Science Foundation. We would like to present this certificate of appreciation to our six speakers for their valuable contribution to a speaker and or reactor to the food loss and food waste, what can be done webinar of the SDG2 projects, policy and governance of sustainable food systems webinar series of 2023. Given this 14th day of November 2023 via Zoom, and it's signed by me, and it's signed by Roel Rabanera, who is the Executive Director of Xavier Science Foundation, and it's also signed by Dr. Leland de la Cruz, who is the Assistant Vice President for Social Development and Environment Concerns at the Ateneo de Manila University, under which our program is launched. So this is awarded to Ms. Kaylee Hartigan Go. It's awarded to Mr. Francis Ian Agatep of the Quezon City Government. It's awarded to Mr. Mac Florendo from Food Rescue Philippines, SOS. It's awarded to Mr. Georgie Tenolete, President of Kabalikat sa Kaunlaran. It's awarded to Ms. Mitzi Salcedo of Ecoteneo Ateneo de Davao University. And lastly, to Mr. Mark Sabines from Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan de Oro, our engineer, who was cut off unfortunately during the tail end of his presentation. So to all six of them, speakers and reactors, our most profound gratitude. And hopefully these are expressions also of Laudato Si, no? So we hope that we will continue our engagement and involvement with each other. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Sir Ed, for the acknowledgement of speakers and reactors. Now may I invite everyone in the Zoom room to turn on their cameras for a group photo to be taken by Carl. Carl, ikaw na lang mag 1, 2, 3.
All right, sir. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sir Justin. And everyone, I would like to request you to please turn on your cameras. All right, hold on. Okay, we're quite a lot, so it will take some time. All right, counting to 3, 2, 1. All right, this is quite a lot, sorry. All right, these are like 8 batches. Okay, another one, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, another one last one. All right, again, please turn on your cameras so that we can see you. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Back to you, Sir Justin.
Thank you, thank you. Just some reminders and invitations to some upcoming events. We have the AUNEEC housed at the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, organizing a workshop entitled Reconciling with Nature Through Artistic Creations, happening on November 21 from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. The workshop seeks to guide the participants on the creative expression of their personal embodiment of reconciliation, ecology, given one's unique context and narrative. This one has limited slots, so if you want to register, go ateneo.edu, AUNEEC 2023 workshop. This is both two concurrent on-site workshop sessions. But there's also a hybrid session which will be done primarily online, which will be streamed for online viewers. So it's up to you. There's a lot of opportunities there. So if you're interested in something like this, feel free to register. And if you have any inquiries, just email aun.eec@ateneo.edu. In the next slide, also, since we didn't have time for all the questions of the audience, we may continue the discussion through our FB group page seen on the slide. This is bit.ly/FS Community Dialogues, which should link to the FB page of the Food Systems Community Dialogues group. So again, this one is on the slide. Feel free to screenshot it or copy it down or jot it down so that you can join us in our Food Systems Community Dialogues. This is also where we will be posting information about our future webinars, because even if our webinars for this year have ended for this particular series, surely there are more webinars to come next year. Okay, maybe even possibly some on-site sessions, we'll see. But feel free to join our FB group page so that you will be up to date on any information regarding our webinar series. All right, next page siguro. Finally, I'd like to formally close and synthesize our session today. Please humor me as we use up the remaining time for a very quick closing synthesis for our session. Food waste is a growing problem in the world today, and much of the food waste that is generated by the world is a result of a destructive food attitude that has been espoused among people by consumerism and capitalism. Food waste contributes to the lack of access to food for many people around the world, especially in the global south. One might think that the solution to the issue of food insecurity is increasing the food supply. To some degree, the procurement of a supportable food supply matters. However, as history tells us, and as we have seen in the work of our first speaker, a surplus of food does not necessarily result in solving the world food crisis. Overproduction does not mean that we will solve the food crisis. Given this seeming contradiction, it becomes apparent that food waste is a symptom of the improper management of food distribution systems, and at present, the world has the potential to supply the food needs of its inhabitants, and yet people still go hungry. This is something that we've seen in the discussion of Sir Mac Florendo. It might be pertinent to use food waste as a gauge for the food attitudes that contribute to the systemic problem of unjust food distribution. The food service industry, from school cafeterias to eat-all-you-can buffets that have been indicated by our friends from Kabalikat, is notorious for both pre-consumer food waste and post-consumer waste. As we have seen in the talks we heard today from Kaylee, Sir Ian, Sir Mac, as well as with the statements of our various reactors, whether in the developed nations of the global north or the developing countries of the global south like the Philippines, food waste is everywhere. The further away people are situated from their food source, the less they understand their ingredients for cooking and where these ingredients come from. And consequently, it is also resulting in a limited understanding of proper food usage and preparation of such ingredients. Beyond just the question of food production is the question of food utilization. And food utilization is grounded on issues of food knowledge, food education, and food memory. I hope that we continue nourishing and feeding our food knowledge, our food education, and our food memory in this journey that we take as a community involved and interested in food systems dynamics. And I hope to see all of you in our upcoming food systems webinars as we continue to hope against hope for the future of food. Next slide, please. Before we all go, let's make sure to fill up the evaluation forms for the webinar today. The evaluation form can be found either through this code that you see on screen or from bit.ly/fspolicy5eval. bit.ly/fspolicy5eval. You may also find us at admu.ais Facebook page, and also can contact us at sdsnph@gmail.com. Please do not forget to sign and fill up the evaluation form for our webinar today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us in our session today. I hope you got something new and was also inspired by the work that's done by our various speakers and our reactors. I think that based from what I've seen in chat, there's a lot of excitement and also a lot of willingness to be involved in matters of trying to reduce our food waste and to improve the situation in matters of food waste and food loss. Please don't forget to fill out our evaluation form so that you can get your e-certificate. And we'll see you again next year when we start a new series of webinars for our food systems webinar. So thank you very much, everyone. Again, our evaluation form, bit.ly/fspolicy5eval. Many thanks again to our speakers and our reactors. Thank you, Sir Mac, Sir Ian. And yes, Sir Mac is highlighting, please like and follow www.facebook.com/SOSPHFoodRescue. That's facebook.com/SOSPHFoodRescue. Thank you, everyone. Have a happy Tuesday evening. And yes, Carl, feel free to play the for the eval link. Yes.
Thank you, Sir Justin.
Thank you.